Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom really is brought to you by...
What the fuck?
What's up, dude?
One of my renters broke the toilet again. That dude takes giant shits. Now I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Why don't you hire a property management company or something to take care of that stuff?
Because they suck, and they take 10%.
You know, our dude Hank owns and manages Heritage Realty Partners. I think he said he only charges 5%, and he visits each property at least once a month.
That's right, he's always posting beers from the road. You have his number?
Actually, I do. His personal number is 805-451-5734.
Perfect. Now he can deal with my renter's big shits.
Heritage Realty Partners.
For all your property management and investment needs.
This episode of BVK is brought to you by Family Therapy Fight Club. Welcome to the Family Therapy Fight Club, where family feuds explode into epic cage matches. Tired of endless arguments and unresolved tensions at home? When words fail, fists fly. Why argue in the living room when you can settle it once and for all in the octagon? Ditch the dull therapy sessions. Our electrifying bouts turn sibling rivalries and family disputes into adrenaline-charged showdowns. Our expert coaches will train you to master conflict resolution MMA style. Settle who gets the last piece of pie with a crushing armbar. Moms versus dads, brothers versus sisters, and no one calls the cops. A good KO isn't just satisfying, it's the fastest way to solve who gets the TV remote. Sick of fighting over who takes out the trash? Solve it with a no-holds-barred wrestling match. Want to decide on vacation plans? Step into the octagon and let the best plan win. Our intense therapy has you covered. Every knockout clears the air and every tap-out brings your family closer. Feel the tension dissipate with every clash. Visit the Family Therapy Fight Club today, where family unity is just a knockout away.
That just reminds me of my favorite line in the movie when he tells his dad, "Yeah, I bet it's hard to find a chick that can take a punch nowadays." I was just like, fuck.
It's also a ripoff of the the second ever Simpsons episode where they go to family therapy where they can shock the fuck out of each other.
Start this thing.
BVK, how are you all doing? Welcome back. It's been a long week, and we are now getting into the movie Warrior, as we talked about last week. So I don't know, it kind of felt like a long week to me. What have you guys been up to? Like, I mean, I've got the four boys here. I've got Scotch, I've got Zach, I've got Nate. What have you guys been up to this last week? You know?
Yeah, I mean, ever since the bevies, which was super fun.
Yeah.
And it was cool to have Nick back. And shoot. You know, it does seem like a very busy week. It's hard to remember all the stuff I did this week.
How many shows do you think you played in that week?
Shoot, probably about at least 20 to 30.
20 to
Yeah,
30.
I think you had about 20 or 30 gigs.
Yeah.
In that list.
Solid.
Yeah.
Gigging, bro. Gigging it up.
Just getting it done.
Just gigging.
Yeah, the week was fucking wild. Went to Italy, Croatia, worked a whole bunch, traveled a bunch for work, just been all over the place. 7 days just seems like 3-4 months at least.
That's a pretty busy week for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost a normal week for you, though. Like,
It's
I mean,
pretty-
that European travel.
It's pretty on par. Yeah. My passport's been hot.
Yeah.
I mostly got into some like pretty serious eating.
Okay.
like competitive.
No, I mean, I had like, I counted it up. Let me look through my notes here. I had 75 drumsticks, like the ones with the crunch on the outside. I ate 18 pizzas.
One time I saw Nate, he was like, "I'm going to have a fruit snack." And he grabbed 42 packs of fruit snacks and just opened them one by one and ate each of them, like,
Dude.
just complete one bite with each one.
I had 41
And he was like,
fruit
and he was like
snacks
mad
this
at me for pointing it out. And I was like, dude, and he was like, they're one by each.
They're
That's
one
how
by.
they go.
That's how the pack is advertised.
And now I've been eating fruit snacks.
you can't even eat. They'll tell you can't eat them you can't eat them individually.
Well,
You
it
have to
doesn't
eat them
taste
as a
as
pack.
good if you do it that way.
Well, I'll go to the store and I'll buy like, the prepackaged and like 100 calories per bag or whatever. And I'm thinking, man, I'm finally gonna be healthy. This will be my snack. And next thing you know, I'm fucking housing like 15 of them, and it's like I got 1,500 calories. So-
I ate 3,700 chicken wings in that week.
Yeah,
man,
that's
yeah.
Dude, chicken wings are so
pretty good
fucking
week for you.
Can we just
202 liters of Diet Pepsi.
Can we just take a second to talk about how good chicken wings are? Do you guys remember when there was a chicken wing shortage for a little while?
Dude, that scared me.
Yeah, dude. I was like, there was like lots of nice young ladies at Hooters that were worried about their livelihood. Buffalo Wild Wings shuttered their doors for a few minutes. That was a scary time in the U.S.
Now, very important question, just real quick, since we're already off topic. Bone in or boneless?
Oh,
Dude, if you eat boneless wings,
yeah.
Thank you.
If you eat
God.
chicken nuggets, what the hell's going on?
I knew I was with the right people.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good segue from my last week because I had a pretty busy last week. I graduated a bunch of students at my old job, and then I resigned from that job and started a new job, and then I was in Barcelona. And while we were in Barcelona, we actually had chicken wings on 3 occasions, which
Really?
that's not the typical Barcelona fare.
Barcelona chicken wings.
that's actually kind of on brand for you.
Can I
Really.
ask you?
Not really, because I love eating like as authentic as possible when I'm in a spot. But we did find a spot that was had good beer, and they just happened to have some kick ass.
And by good
chicken
beer, you
wings.
mean not Barcelona beer.
No, they were actually no. Europe is starting to catch up. They're starting to
No,
get in that
they're
craft
not.
beer game. There's some spot. Well, not in the Czech Republic,
Dude.
That's not a.
Where we were at, they were just like, hey, we have light beer, and then there's this other light beer that's really delicious. And I was like, you don't have anything that doesn't taste like Bud Light? And they were
well,
like,
and it's
no.
and it's cheaper than the water too. If you get the bottle of water, it's usually more expensive than the beer. So.
Isn't that wild?
But no, I got to say this: the wing spot that we went to, all the wings were delicious except we tried to get garlic parmesan, and it was basically they took like the most like pastaroni garlic parmesan sauce that you would make like with noodles, and they put that on the wings, so it was like a creamy. Oh, Nate, you would have loved it. The creamy white sauce
Nate loves a white creamy
all over
sauce.
the wings, and they were just terrible.
I would have literally thrown them at the server.
Because the garlic parmesan, I think of like a little oil on them and just some parmesan sprinkles, and you're good to go. That's like maybe a garlic oil. You're perfect. And they put white creamy sauce
I know
all
what
over
I'm
those
talking about.
wings, and they were trash.
By day 7 in Italy, I had eaten enough pizza and pasta to literally, I was like, I do not ever want to eat this again. And then we flew to Croatia, and I was like, I can't wait to have some local Croatian cuisine. And guess what their fucking specialty is? Pizza and fucking pasta. and we were going to kill ourselves. At some point we were like, we cannot eat this shit anymore. And then we found the only Mexican food restaurant in Croatia, and we went to it and had margaritas and nachos and burritos, and ended up going there like 3 times in 3 days.
Yeah.
It was, you just need that little taste of home, you know?
We went to a Mexican spot in Spain, in Barcelona, right down the street from and the only reason we went is because it said sexy fucking tacos. It was like on the sign.
That sounds
Or no, sexy tacos. It was best fucking Mexican food and then sexy tacos. And we were like, all right, I think
Where
we're going to
did
have to
it say
try this. Just like on signs outside, like
nice.
at their patio.
It reminds me of when I was super drunk in Santa Barbara visiting my friend Trevin, and I just hammered, and we went to TA's burrito place, and I walked up to the counter, and I stared at the guy, just fucking drunk, and I go, I want a big fucking burrito. And he laid out 2 tortillas side by side and made this giant 2 tortilla burrito that
You're
was just
like-
like huge.
Is it exactly what you wanted?
Did you house it? Did you make it happen?
I don't think I ate the whole thing. I don't remember even eating it, but I know I put a dent in it.
Dude.
Dude, this Mexican spot though, they did like a corn dog with like crunched up tortilla chips on the outside, and then a couple of dishes were pretty killer. And then they had wild chili cheese fries, which were
This is all in Barcelona?
this is at this one spot.
Dude, I
This
don't
was all
know.
last week?
Are you sure you went to
Yeah.
Barcelona and you didn't just go to like
Oh, dude, we ate so much good seafood.
you didn't go to accidentally go to Myrtle Beach or something?
I did a trip to
It was called Chula Vista too, so I'm assuming it's probably like some like United States dude that like moved out there and started it. So
I did a trip to Kentucky, and a guy that lived there that was like showing us around was like, taking y'all out to dinner tonight? we're going to Mexican food.
Oh, no.
And we went to Mexican food in Kentucky, and I literally walked into the place and I was like, not one person that either works here, owns this place, or has ever been here has even met a Mexican person in their entire life. It was the
I had a
wildest
similar
shit.
experience in South Carolina.
Dude, exactly.
Ground beef and like Velveeta, like on their tacos and shit.
I generally have a rule that I will not eat Mexican food.
You can't do it.
Anywhere east of the Rockies. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
I won't
Is
do it.
Italy east of the Rockies? I think it's pretty east of that. And they,
Depends on what direction
Well,
you go.
yeah, you didn't say this place was actually decent. The Cantina tacos, like they put like a white cheese on them though, so that was kind of like But all the flavors were pretty damn
if
good.
this place was in California, it would have been closed a long time
Oh,
ago.
shit. Okay, so it's
But
pretty
in
bad.
Croatia,
It's the best
it was
place on the
fucking
continent.
killing it, dude. Absolutely killing it.
So are did we turn? Is this like did we turn this just went full like chef on us? So this is we're doing an eating show now.
Yeah, I think this is the new style of BBK.
I got one more though. My wife in Italy orders a margarita, and she says on the rocks, salt on the rim. And we did the fucking who's on first thing for about 10 minutes. Margarita? Yeah, margarita. You want a margarita with salt on the a margarita. They fucking wanted to give us a margarita pizza.
I was just
so
gonna say they
fucking
give you a
They
pizza.
didn't do it. They didn't actually bring it to us, but we did the back and forth for quite a while. It was pretty good.
It was margarita.
Yeah.
Since we are a travel food pod, we do have to tell the story that when Nate and I were in Prague together, we got pizza one night late, and they bring out our pizza, and we were pretty hungry, so we grab it, start eating, and we're both kind of looking at each other like, damn, this pizza, is this the one you ordered? And he's like, I don't think this is the one I ordered. And on the menu, right below the pizza that we wanted to order, I don't know if this is a big thing in Prague or what, but the pizza was tuna and onion.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It was terrible.
That sounds pretty terrible.
It was
Onion pizza.
terrible. Oh, I mean, seafood on pizza of any sort is bad, but this was a next level shit.
Yeah.
That my dad always tells a story about going on a pseudo honeymoon with my mom to Mexico and thinking that his Spanish was just spectacular.
Sure.
And going to this little restaurant and ordering tacos and just telling my mom, I got this, ordering in Spanish. And then they brought out a plate that was like 2 feet long with a fish that was literally had the head hanging off one side and the fin hanging off the other side with a stack of tortillas and put it on the table. And they were like, this is what you ordered. And he was like, what the fuck? He claims it was delicious, but this is what happens when you go abroad on your week in between podcasts.
Yeah. So hey, yeah, we all had pretty good weeks.
Pretty good weeks.
I'd say it was a
Hell of a
solid
week.
week.
Hell of
I
a
enjoyed it. It's-
What movie are we doing today?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about at the end of the
bevies.
The Bevies.
At the end of the bevies, yeah, we said Warrior, which is an OG basement tape.
How do you know how far into the basement tapes? Like what number episode was it?
I'll stop you. I'll stop you all right
Ooh.
there. We never did this on the basement tapes. You guys are high.
Well, that's crazy because I have a
Absolutely, we
document
did.
that shows that I
You
absolutely.
maybe you weren't there.
I know we didn't.
I think you're
Guys, I have a better memory than all of you. And third of all, I'm positive.
wrong. You are. How positive are you?
I'm absolutely positive.
Okay.
Why would I have a document and I know that we
Did we
did it and
did we
talked
just
about it?
decide not to do
We
it?
never did it. I promise you we never did it.
What can I ask a question? Why are you like you're not usually someone who's like I'm going to lay down on the tracks on this like
Because I'm that sure.
you're that sure? Why?
When you just said it right now, I was like, what
Somebody
is Nate talking
Text
about?
Nick, get another opinion on this.
Well, I can I mean I have the episode.
What would have our draft been, or were we not doing
We didn't
drafts
do
at
it.
that point?
I'm telling you.
Oh, because we
do
didn't do drafts until like right before we started doing this for real. So
okay.
First draft we did, I think Scotty Beck was on the on the ones and twos with Matt Brown.
that was the music. That was Sing
Andrew.
Street.
Sing
Wasn't that
Street,
the
yeah.
first our first ever draft? And my brother.
I'm
like, in the
positive
band
we
or
didn't
something?
do Warrior.
I don't I still am confused.
I have
Why
a
are
whole
you-
document. I have a whole document that
Why
I
are
created.
you
So unless we
doubling down-
created it and then
doubling
we
down on
decided
this?
not to do it,
You guys,
Kind of like what we did this last time.
if I wasn't sure, I would be like, I would let you guys
What do you
talk
mean?
about it at length.
what are you talking about, Scotch Beck?
I also want to bring up one of my favorite things that happened was the pod that we did in my garage that we did not press record and
that was
record
very
the
bad
entire
things.
pod.
That was that Strange Brew? No.
No, it
Very
was
bad things.
very bad
Very bad
things.
things. Yeah, and we did not get to record. Yeah, that one turned out bad.
That was basement tape, right? Yeah, okay.
That was our first like attempt at like a recording. Like
We did.
I'm gonna find now.
It
You
didn't
put
work
me
out.
on now.
You're not going to find it, so good luck.
What do you?
I
What's gonna happen? Like, what are we? What are you gonna give me when I find it?
I'm not going to give you anything because you're not going to find it.
Yeah, you are.
I'm just
You're
one like we have it on I think YouTube. I think
That's where I'm looking.
Yeah.
I got to go back to our
Guys,
channel.
I promise you, it does not exist.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
I've got the memory of a fucking what has a good memory?
Of a guy that smokes a lot of weed.
Jesus Christ, Scott.
it's legal. It's legal.
It's legal.
At least in this last week, I'm pretty sure like it was legalized or something. So
Cut it.
it's been a long week.
There's no weed. I don't do any weed. I don't do the devil's lettuce.
You
All
said,
right,
you
so-
said a mind like a guy who does. I didn't say it was you.
Do people that smoke a lot of weed have like incredible memories?
No.
No, my wife always tells me that if it's important, I will never remember it. But if it's absolute bullshit, dog shit information, I will totally remember it. And the fact that we never did Warriors,
I think that
right
tracks
on
with
that.
a lot of us. Like,
Yeah.
But I still disagree pretty wholeheartedly.
Oh my God, you guys.
We had to have.
We didn't.
I have no idea what.
I know we didn't. We talked about it a bunch on different podcasts because we talked about Nick Nolte's speech. We talked about
I have a document.
the
Our
needle
old
drop.
basement tapes. All my documents are still together in one spot, and I had one for Warrior.
That's cool for
I'm
you.
still
dude.
looking.
It doesn't exist. I'm telling you, it
Where are
doesn't
you
exist.
looking? Like, are you lost
I'm looking
in like
places. Once you
Are you
shut
down
up,
going down a rabbit hole or
There's
something?
a possibility.
no, just continue without me and shut your mouth.
The more possible explanation is that you guys did a secret podcast, and we're like, let's try one without Zach and see if it's better. And
I
then you're
can't.
like,
I
no,
got to
it's
tell you
not.
right now, I cannot wait
It doesn't
to
exist.
play
I promise
Zach's voice.
you. I promise you, it doesn't exist.
It'll be
You
the first.
guys.
It'll be the first time a basement tape's ever been played.
This is the kind of stuff that gets
Ooh,
locked
that
in my
is
brain.
true. That there would be like some secret information that's never been played before.
I love you guys, but you're not gonna find it.
What are we doing?
All right, so we
is
are
good.
here to talk
is good
about
pod.
the movie Warrior. I mean, it's like you think like we've taken like a
You
week off,
might
and
be
we're all of a
right.
sudden
I am
rusty
right.
for
Yeah.
some reason. This is
Can't
kind of
remember how to
crazy.
do this shit.
Why didn't we do it? Were we gonna do it and then we went?
No, we did it.
You did not do it.
Wow. So
did not.
Nate's gone over to your side already, and Brad's still riding it.
Nate's using evidence, and
I don't have it.
yeah, because it doesn't exist. I promise you,
It was. I do not have it.
this has always been one that I've been like, we got to do this one.
But we intended to do it, or we talked about doing it.
I mean, that's very possible. But you know what? If we're going with intention and we,
I
we're going
think
to
we
do
did it.
No,
We did
didn't.
it.
You guys are
All
fine.
right, we're gonna figure this out at some
right.
point. But let's move
I
on.
remember because I had not seen the movie, and it was like me getting to talk about the movie right after seeing it for the first time.
Absolutely not.
Is it possible that we did this as a regular episode and we've just forgotten? It's
Absolutely.
No, that's for sure not. All right, so
let's
we're
go.
talking about Warrior by our boy Gavin O'Connor, who he's done some stuff. He's made some things.
Like what?
Like his first like big movie was called Warrior.
Congrats.
No, I'm
Congrats,
looking
Gavin.
at I have him on producer right now. I hate when fucking IMDb like
Starts with producer. Yeah.
yeah, you're like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, I'm trying to look at his director.
My favorite thing is when I click on someone's name on IMDb and it lists all their credits, and then I read, I'm like, this guy did so much awesome stuff, and then I realized that it was just like he actually like his second cousin was like a grip on the movie, and they happened to put it in his IMDb. It's so stupid.
All right, so let's go to director. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I was like, producer. What the fuck did he produce? His first like big movie, Miracle. I mean, that's a gigantic movie that I remember. Like when I first heard that was coming out, I was like, that's weird to choose something that's like so like part of pop culture and like do a movie about it.
I have no idea what that is.
Miracle, Kurt
hockey.
Russell, the hockey 1980.
I haven't seen that.
versus the Russians.
Yeah, that's
You never watched that?
no, that's you older guys stuff.
There was a movie Pride and Glory that I think got some acclaim I've never seen, and then Warrior. He directed the TV series just one episode, The Americans.
Dude, such a good show.
He hasn't done a ton.
Jane Got a Gun, The Accountant. That was with
Affleck?
Affleck.
Ooh, autistic Affleck. I like that.
And then The Way Back again with Affleck. So he's now, I guess,
I think
way
Nate-
back. I think it was overrated.
Nate watched it though.
I watched it.
Yeah.
and it looks like there's an
watch a
untitled
lot of
Accountant
stuff. It's bad.
sequel. So I'm assuming Affleck doesn't die at the end.
I haven't seen it.
Spoiler.
And then some movie called Fast, which
It's about PE.
Drug enforcement. Oh, this is the one that's
Premature
Tyler Sheridan,
ejaculation.
Gavin O'Connor that has never really gotten going. Like it was supposed to, and it just still has not actually moved forward. So
Sheridan,
yeah,
the Yellowstone folks.
So it's interesting. He hasn't done a ton, and obviously he's got some talent because this movie's pretty great. But I'm looking at the reason why maybe he's not getting more is the budget on this thing is 25 mil, and it made 23 mil.
So I saw that, and what I thought about is like, if this movie comes out 10 years earlier, every fucking college dude has this DVD, right? Like
10 years early. Oh, if it gets DVD sales.
Yeah.
Like if it came out in like 99 or 2000, every college dude probably has this DVD.
But is UFC
No, that's
what it is then?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's I just think it's like this movie probably didn't make a whole lot on the back end because you didn't have those DVD sales like it would. So I don't know. I was a giant MMA fan when this came out, and I was just like, fuck any movie that's gonna be about MMA. It's probably gonna be trash. It's probably gonna be corny. And while there are some things about it that are pretty corny and trash, we'll get into that. I don't know why I didn't see it. Like I'm pissed that I didn't watch it.
Well, people really loved it. It got great reviews, like 84% on Rotten Tomatoes and 92% audience score. And when I was filling out my notes, I had Interstellar up, and like those numbers are better than Interstellar in a lot.
As far as Rotten Tomatoes,
people
yeah.
liking it and stuff, and critics and everything like that. Even critics, like Interstellar was like 70-something%, and this is like 84. So great movie, and just for whatever reason, maybe UFC just isn't. UFC itself isn't that big of a draw as far as just like moviegoers and just normal people that are really into UFC are really into UFC.
I bet Uncle Dana probably put a little squash on it too, even though it had some dudes that were very much adjacent with MMA.
Right.
That dude does not want to market anything outside of the UFC. He's always been a dick like that. And so I bet he probably tried to squash a little bit of it and be like, no, fuck that. It's not UFC licensed. So fuck
I
that.
was actually surprised when the principal turns to the teacher and says, UFC? And he goes, yeah. That was like the only time they really mentioned UFC. All the rest of it was MMA and mixed martial arts and all of those things. They don't really, I mean, is UFC like a trademark? I was surprised that they could say that.
That's what I'm interested to find out is like in a movie, can you say something that is like of absolute part of pop culture? Can you mention it in passing without actually having to pay them any money? Like,
right. Like,
because you're not.
Can you
you're
say,
not,
hey, let's go grab some McDonald's without having to pay McDonald's money?
we need somebody who could fucking answer that because I don't know.
I haven't heard anything that any of you said in the last 5 minutes, and I'd like to prepare Zach to eat a bag of assholes.
There we go.
No,
I knew
this is
you
not
would
true.
find it.
Play
I
it.
knew you would.
June
find it.
4th,
Play it.
2020. All I was able to, Nick Brown.
Play it.
All I was able to find was Anchorman episode. Do you guys have the Warrior and Demolition Man link?
Doesn't
Zach.
Doesn't exist.
Man, unfortunately, I think only Nate holds the answers you seek.
That's from our text. Oh, so you went back on text.
Me saying, sorry, man, I'll send the link shortly. I send a bunch of links.
Oh, so that's weird. So they don't
Then I
exist
say, I haven't uploaded Warrior yet.
because we never did it
You know why? Why we don't have it? Why it's not there?
because we didn't do it.
Because it was the last one we did, I believe, it was our last episode
before we went real
live.
No, I think Sing Street was, but
I literally have zero
At the
zero
break, at
recollection
the
of
break,
that.
I will be going and getting it, and you all are going to hear your first basement tape, and you're going to have to absolutely just wallow around in a barrel of monkey shit that I provide for you,
I still don't believe
like the sloth eating butt snorter you are.
damn.
I've been known to snort some butts, but
Okay.
I definitely have.
I just wonder, like, what made you just so
Yeah, that's
adamant about it?
I have
Like,
zero. I've literally. I remember every episode
there's
we've
a-
ever done, and this is not the first time that you guys have been like, "Oh, we did this," and I've been like, "No," and I've been right every time.
I have to get it. I'm going to get it.
But you've been wrong every time.
I've been right every single
right?
time.
Every
yes,
time.
I've been
Oh,
right
shit.
every single time. This would be the first time I was wrong, like literally in 35 years, maybe 40.
Well, we don't even know how long a week is.
Well, all right. What are we talking about?
I mean, yeah, we talked
we on
about it
Warrior?
last week, I think, about how we were like, we did this in the basement tapes.
All right,
I think you agreed.
So I've got a couple questions.
Absolutely not true.
So we've drafted this movie a number of times for
Absolutely.
different
a
things.
lot of different picks from this one.
That I agree with.
we've talked a ton about the closing song, which we'll talk about again.
Yeah.
Right. Because we drafted it. It's been nominated in different ways for all kind of musical stuff. But it also has a phenomenal opening song.
It's the same song.
No.
It's
God damn it! Here we go.
For the love of God.
have to rename this
What happened to
podcast,
you?
like-
What did you do?
Is it
What-
the National again?
It is the it's same band.
But it's not the same song.
No.
I was literally just about to be like, isn't it the same song at the opening?
No, you weren't. But you were literally like, it's the same song.
Jesus. You didn't ask a question.
Zach turned
You
into
made a
just
statement.
did you turn into like a Trumper that like just absolutely refuses to have,
Well, that's one thing we didn't mention is this whole last week. I mean, all we've done is just really got hardcore into politics. And
I went hard into some encampments.
yeah.
I was in it, then I was attacking it, and I was attacking it from within. I don't know.
I mean, I had a
Well,
poster.
they were all. I mean, they were all about Donald Duck. It was like the Mickey Mouse thing at Disneyland. Did you guys see? Oh no, we're good. It's a good thing.
Pretty hard.
It's pretty hardcore. They kept it pretty quiet.
I mean, I was on Ben Shapiro's pod like 2 or 3 times last week.
So
Hell of a
anyway,
week.
Zach's
But then he kicked
definitely-
me off,
Zach's
so.
sure of everything and also nothing.
I'm actually upset.
So
He's stewing, man. He's pissed.
is it the best opening and closing? Like, is it the best entry, like best movie ever to have the combo in terms of the combo of the entry song, exit song?
I will immediately say no because I don't even pay attention to the opening song. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't move me anyway.
You don't even know.
And the last
it's because
song,
you don't know.
The last song and the last scene. I've liked it, the National for quite a while. I've
No, I'm
always
just,
dug it.
no,
I'm just saying,
I'm just saying. I think it takes you into the movie in a way that like you're not conscious of.
I think in your first time you probably don't notice it. Maybe your second time you're like, knowing the connection, it probably does a little bit more.
It just felt things.
But like even this last watch, I was just like the first song. I didn't even realize it was National. I probably wasn't even paying attention. That last song, I mean, I'm gonna admit right now, if I don't get to tears easy, but that last scene, man, it can get the tears out of me like just like a snap.
But here's my only thing I'll say about that is, yeah, the moment is amazing, the scene is amazing, the ambiance of the music is amazing, but I do not remember the song at all. I can't sing it to you. I can't hum it to you. I don't know the song.
It's not a super melodic song.
That's why I didn't find it to be as good of a draft when we did that draft with the best song, which the moment, the scene, fucking A, is amazing. But I just, as a song itself, I don't remember how it goes.
So
Let's get Gavin's ass in here and grill him on this.
Hang on. I've got
No?
takes. I just want to piggyback on what Scott's saying here. This is my problem with the National as a band, period. And this may upset some indie rock folks in the crowd.
a lot of them. Yeah.
I heard the first song. I heard the first song in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this is that National song." And then the song came on at the end, and I was like, "This is the same song." I didn't even question it. That's why I said it so confidently to you that I was like, "This is obviously the same song." But this is a perfect example to me of all of the other things about it lifting that song up. Because my take, it's not a great song.
Oh, so I think I agree wholeheartedly with that take. I think what I would say though is like it's all contextual, and in the sense that like the song combined with the scene, right? And so like, for example, the end of the song that finishes Fight Club, right, is also a great song,
Right.
but it's multiplied many times in that scene because it's just such a like. The combo here, we don't have what is a great song, but the match of the two. And I mean, one of the things that, that they talked about, they talk about when you read the background on it is they literally wrote the last scene with that song on a loop. Yeah, and so the song wasn't written for the scene. The scene, so to wasn't exactly written for the song, but the scene was written to match the song, to match the like cadence of it. And part of the reason, like when you talk about it, Scott, not being particularly melodic, it's like, the lead in, right before you even get words, is just such a slow.
Well, it's more of a like a soundtrack. It's more,
It
more
is
a symphonic piece.
It totally
It's very cinematic.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a question I have for you. So you guys, I assume you two, I don't know about you, you knew the National before this movie?
I did
Correct.
not.
You did
Yeah,
not. You did.
I
You
knew
did.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've never heard of them until you guys mentioned that was the band on the first time we talked about this song. And so I've never heard the band, I've never heard the song, and so it's not going to resonate to me as like, oh, hey, that's the National, that's a great song. Like kind of like Forrest Gump, fucking Fortunate Son, when the helicopters are going over. That song resonates to me because I love that song and I've always heard that song and it's a cool scene. So it's going to hit me differently because I don't think of it as the song. I'm just thinking of it as a soundtrack piece. Like
and I think I mean, I guess maybe in that sense, you have to think about throwing it in with like almost the score. Like,
Right.
you know, you could think of it that way and say, okay, well, is it the best finishing score for a movie? You know, and in that way, it's a better.
I would agree with that more than the song.
So that's my thing about the National, though, is that the lead singer for the National is an amazing poet, in my opinion, not an amazing singer. He doesn't come up with great melodies. It's very lyric driven stuff and very atmospheric, like you're saying, and very like in the background of that scene, it fucking makes it swell and makes it dope. If you listen to it on its own without all that other stuff, it's just kind of background music, in my opinion.
Well, that's for me. The National was like, I listened to Boxer when it came out. That was like
Boxer,
their first
yeah,
like
that's
critically acclaimed.
that's their
like,
record
that's the
had
one
all
that really like put them out there. And then their follow up, I listened to, and it was just like, it doesn't have that same effect because the first time you hear the National and you like get into it, like, oh shit, this is a little different. This dude's voice is cool. And the second album was just like,
This is
not
the
a lot
same
changed.
shit.
It was just
Exactly.
like just a repeat of kind of what
That's my
I'd
problem
already
with
heard.
them.
Yeah, no, and so I agree with that. So no, but for me, it's just the juxtaposition of like an MMA fight. I've been to a couple where I've been right near the ring, and it's like the intensity of a big MMA fight is crazy. Like it's just, I mean, testosterone and adrenaline, and people are just fucking amped up, and it's like so crazy. And to take that type of scene where, I mean, everything's on the line, $5 million, it's just so intense, and then just turn it down. Just like you dropped it from like 11 down to like 2, and you're like, this isn't a movie about MMA. This is a movie about the relationship between these brothers and their dad. And we're going to go ahead and fucking hit the emotions right now.
Yeah.
And that's all we're going to focus on because
100%.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because like in my notes right here, I say emotional as fuck. And the first time I watched this, the goosebumps and like borderline crying the first time watching that scene, because I had never seen it until you guys talked about it so many fucking times that I just had to go watch it. And so I watched it, I don't know, a year ago or so. And it was just so good. So I was like, dude, I know what you guys are talking about. And then we were talking about doing it for this pod, and I watched it again, and it didn't hit because I don't know why. The rewatch just was not as good for me. And it was because I think the movie's such a bummer. The relationship between him and his dad is so rough, and I kind of know how it ends. It loses a little bit of its luster, which is kind of a bummer because there's other movies that I know the ending and it's emotional. Like Rudy, I still
hits.
So that, you know what's
whatever.
funny is I have had exactly the opposite experience.
That's
like
great, yeah.
I really liked it the first time. Brad and I were talking about this before we were on air. I really liked it the first time. And on the 10th, by the 10th watch, which I've easily seen it 10 times. And when I probably first watched it and I didn't see it in the theaters, and I kind of like it, I missed it by a year or two. And I finally was like, I don't even know how I came to it to watch it. And I watched it and I was like, wow, like that was really good. And then, and I was like, but was it really that? I just saw it and I'm like, but it was a really great sports movie. And over the next 10 watches over a few years, I think for me, I don't want to be crazy here, but it's in my conversation for my favorite sports movie. Period. Like I wouldn't even go as far. I might even go as far as to say it's the leader and something else has to make the case and I think I often have this reaction with movies where I'm like, is there a recency bias, right? I just saw it and it's newer and, like I'm just feeling fired up about it. But I have the reaction that like every time I watch it, in a sense, like I still get that like real deep chill, and I find things about it that I tend to like and pick up even more. I re-enjoy things. And there's things that I think wear thin for me, but the ending is never what it is.
I'll say the behind the scenes on the old basement tapes, Nate and I were talking about the fact that we used to do a category where we would say, how many more times do you think you'll ever watch this? Okay. That was like something we used to talk about. And on my old document, I put maybe once. And I looked at that, like when I brought opened up this document to do the new one, I was like, how the hell did I say that? I've watched it at least like 6 times since then. I've showed it to like other folks and recommended it to folks. And I was like, how come I said that? Like, was I not as entertained as like I have been recently? Cause like it just built on me. Like it just built more and more that I love this movie.
When I was trying to prove Zach wrong, I was digging through the texts and I found one that was like, this was like a year or more after we had done we did in fact do the episode on the basement tapes. And you're like, I showed this movie to Brenna and she said like she didn't get all the hype about the last song. And then you're just like, I think I might kick her out. Like you were just incensed. You were incensed. So yeah. I mean, you clearly by then had fully like swallowed.
Well, to be fair to Brenna, in 2020 she was like a 5th grader, so I don't know exactly.
This was in
4th grade.
This was in 2022.
Dude, I would absolutely put this in a top 10 easy, maybe even up top 5, because I can remember back my first watch and remember how good. And I'll tell anybody who's listening or talking to anybody, watch this movie. It's amazing. It's super emotional. But yeah, for some reason, like I watched it again and I enjoyed it. And then I tried to watch it again last night just to refresh and everything. And I just couldn't. And again, it could have been just, I was so tired and worn out. I just couldn't deal with heavy at that moment. Yeah. And I'm seeing Tommy talking to his dad. I'm like, I think I can't do this right now. And so maybe that's it. But God damn it, this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, just please.
Yeah, I'll give real quick before we move on to Drink with the Director, because there's definitely some things I want to talk about with that as far as a rewatch. But one person that we recommended it to who watched it and was not at all excited, and I know he's listening to this right now. Hank, King of the Hoisters. He got another.
He didn't like it.
He got a little text feud with us and was like, "Oh man, I don't know what you guys see like in this movie." He's like, "It's just not that great. It's not very well made." And I was just like,
"That's a crazy take, Hank."
Hank.
Crazy
doing right now, Hank. What's going on here, man?
Hank.
There's several things that
watch
this movie,
it again, Hank.
I only watched it because Nate and Nick were so adamant how great it was. And usually that's a recipe for me not liking something. Somebody telling me they really like something.
I'm usually you and Brad share.
Yeah, exactly. I'm usually like, I don't like this mostly because Nate liked it so much or something along those lines.
And it's also got kind of a positive ending, with the brothers coming together. And like, you hate that.
I just fucking loved it. I didn't think I thought
Zach's
it ended
in a bad mood tonight.
I thought it ended so good. I thought it ended so great.
You had a long week.
I did. It was a long fucking week. I need another beer. Let's get this director in here and get some beers.
Yeah, for sure.
Pull up a chair and grab yourself a drink. We'll hypothesize what directors think. Maybe sometimes get a guess makes us look good. Let's drink, laugh, and pretend we know what we're doing. Drinking with the director, brought to you by Last Call Brewing.
You know who I want to bring in?
Yeah. Who do you want to bring in?
I want to bring in 2020 Zach.
Oh my God.
Did we find something?
What's crazy is it's 2 songs. The first song is...
Oh, wow. I knew it was 2 songs.
And the second song... I had to look that up because I was like, I listened to the National and I was like, that's the same song.
Jesus. I've got the same takes.
In case you thought that you just heard that and we replayed this episode, you'd be wrong because that was the first instance of listening to basement tapes on a live Bev's
And
episode.
Zach, your take earlier today was it was the same song.
Yeah.
The same shit.
So that's how much I remember. That's how much I remember because on this episode I was like, oh, I looked it up, found out that it was 2 episodes or 2 different songs, and then today I was like, it's obviously the same song, and we never recorded that episode.
You were absolutely
Christ.
You literally the 2 things. You were like, you're an idiot. That's the same song.
I didn't say it like that. I did not. That's bullshit.
Nate, that's why Nate was so upset because you were getting a little vicious with him. You came in spitting fire.
But anyway, first of all,
we did do that episode. I apologize to everyone that was really invested in that argument. Jesus Christ!
I'm so
literally,
happy.
as an observer on the sidelines, all I'm going to say is this: there's nothing in the world that I hate more than being absolutely positive about something and being proven wrong. And so I'm really feeling sorry for Zach right now because if it was me, I would be fucking pissed.
If I know Scott Beck, there's nothing in the world that he loves more than me being wrong.
You know what's funny? Though?
I'm actually really enjoying this.
I'm very much the same way. But as I've gotten older, what that's caused me to do, this is why, because that's rare. I mean,
Dude, I'm upset right now.
I don't know if I've ever heard Zach be like, "I'm absolutely sure of that, 100%." And I don't do that very often because I'm like, fuck, I could be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I'm always leaving myself wiggle room.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. We are back with the drinking with the director. So I'm looking around and everybody's got some drinks.
There was a week-long break in between episodes, and that's when I forgot.
Yeah, fuck. I know. A week's a long time.
2020.
Scotchy, what do you got over there? What are you drinking on?
Well, I went to the old refrigerator and I picked up a BVK IPA Draft Day that we just released a few weeks ago. And so it's nice and fresh. So Walter can feel good about the fact that it's really fresh and it wasn't months ago.
definitely not
It was
9
weeks
months old.
ago.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
weeks
Definitely
ago.
not like
sure
a
that.
strange black flake floating around.
There is something in there that isn't necessarily, I don't think,
Probably not from the can.
probably not from the can. I think it was from
that's-
outside.
yeah.
Could be. Who knows?
There is some sediment because I poured too much. But
What I've told is you roll it. You give it a little roll
Yeah.
before and it gets that sediment moving.
well, it's delicious and I love it. BBK
yeah.
IPA Draft Day. Thank
It
you.
might still be available at last.
could-
No, actually, you know what? No, they sold out in the last week.
It's been
in
a
the
week.
last
sold
week,
out
they
last
did
week.
sell out all of their cans. I know this for a fact.
Just a little peek behind the curtain here at BBK. So we went downstairs, and Nate is the
Always
greatest
gracious.
host ever, and he's got 2 kegs downstairs in the kegerator that are just pouring delicious beer. Scott Beck walked up and started pouring the BVK keg, and it tapped that one, and then turned around, said a couple of words, and went to the next one and tapped that one too.
Literally right after you poured yourself a nice full
Yeah, I got a full beer.
clear glass of delicious beer. I fucking got spit on twice.
Yeah, you got tapped.
Yeah.
You got tapped twice.
Twice. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's the theme of the movie,
Tapped,
right?
yeah.
You got tapped twice here.
0
man.
for 2.
Jesus.
I actually have finished my beer in the 5 minutes since I got it, and it was a Taco Truck Lager, the very last one out of the keg at Nate's house, Dust Bowl Brewing, Turlock, California.
All the
Let's
foam
go.
I got was really good.
Yeah, it was
after
really good
years.
foam. It's quality foam.
They keep posting some shit about like they're like now like one of like the top like I think they're like in the top 25 of breweries or some shit. Like it's kind of crazy. Like they're getting so kind of biggish that they've got some pretty big distribution and all their different tap rooms and shit.
Multiple locations.
well, now
Monterey.
it makes sense why Brad doesn't like him anymore.
Yeah.
Way too fucking popular.
too big for Brad.
Wait, you've heard of that? Fuck them.
No, it's because their beer kind of hasn't evolved with them.
All right, so I'm drinking. You guessed it, the one, the only Diet Pepsi. That hasn't changed in a week.
Grenadine? No?
No grenadine tonight. I was kind of feeling like I wanted it a little straight, more like straight on the
No
rocks.
bourbon,
you know,
no
mixer.
grenadine. That's just
No bourbon, no grenadine. Just kind of keep
fucking,
Although-
fucking embarrassing.
The other day, what happened, Nate? You came to my house and had a Dr. Pepper 10.
Dude, I had a Dr. Pepper 10. It changed.
What's a Dr. Pepper 10? I don't know about this.
It's that Dr. Pepper Zero.
Oh, Dr. Pepper Zero. I apologize. Dr. Pepper 10 has been discontinued.
Yeah,
it was a Dr.
yeah,
Pepper Zero.
and it was just
Wait,
so fucking good.
So was Dr. Pepper 10 like 10 calories?
yeah,
it was 10
yeah,
calories.
10
That's
cal.
fucking stupid. But so now they got the zero
The
sugar.
Zero, and
Okay.
dude, it's
Dr. Pepper 10 had
Next
2 grams of sugar in it, and it was just enough sugar to make you feel like
This is real Dr. Pepper.
this is the most delicious soda you've ever had. They discontinued that. Now they have Dr. Pepper Zero. I had some at my house, and Nate came over and drank like
85
all of them.
But
Whatever
I've
the
heard that of
all-
all the sodas that one like tastes consistently like closest to the
It's
the
fucking
original.
good, dude.
Absolutely,
It's very good.
It's very good.
What kind of sick chemical shit are they putting in there?
I don't care.
Oh, all right. And I am drinking. I feel like it's like weeks and weeks and weeks away, or maybe it happened last Saturday. The Catalina wine mixer from Last Call. They just put this out in cans. Last year they did a big. It was like 8.5. When we were hosting, they had to go big because BVK was at the Catalina wine mixer. And, since last week, a lot of things have happened where they decided, I guess BVK is not coming back. and tickets are down. I'm going to talk just like, some maybe
Let's
a
be
former
real.
president. I mean, their crowds are probably gonna be a lot smaller, and there less people are buying tickets because BBK is not involved. So I think that's just, a lesson to learn, down there at the State Theater. But anyway, the Catalina Wine Mixer, Last Call will be there. Dying Breed will be there. And they did a session IPA this time. And Walter, the genius that he is, somehow threw a bunch of just delicious hops into this thing. And it's a 5.5%, pretty easy drinker. And it's got a lot of flavor. You can drink, multiple of these and not be too concerned about your well-being. They're delicious.
If anybody's wondering why we're doing a podcast this week, it's so that we can continue to have our sponsorship with Last Call Brewing, because if we went a year without doing an episode, Walter said we would lose our 7-year, was it 7 years?
8, 9, 10.
That was the infinite.
Something like that. Infinite.
It was infinite.
Our contract's pretty absurd.
It's a pretty like ironclad contract, but Walter was saying that we needed to do an episode this year.
Well,
or
yeah.
else.
Odds are they probably wouldn't make another beer for us if we weren't putting episodes out. So we might want to do it every now and then.
Well, I feel like Kendra might have started breaking kneecaps because I've heard from her multiple times that in this last
upset.
week, she's like, you guys have not put out an episode since last Tuesday, and I'm very upset about this. And I was like, damn, I guess we should put out an episode.
She sent us a text
the following Tuesday.
I think we pretty much ruined her drive to San Francisco one time because she's
true.
like, you know what would be so great right now? A new episode of BVK.
I was like, just wait a week and it'll be there.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, come on. She was stressing us out. She's kind of like a fiend.
Time's a flat circle.
We love Kendra and Walter, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so a delicious beer down Last Call. As always, you can get 16 beers on tap, and they've been doing seltzers lately. It's a rotating seltzer that's got different fruit, like mango right now. It's so delicious, and enjoy it. Always good food trucks there.
And later this summer, in about 3 or 4 months, on August 30th, Scotch Beck will be playing at Last Call.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Scotch Beck at Last Call. It's going to be a
next
great,
week, maybe.
great evening. Is that a Friday or Saturday?
That's a Friday.
That's a Friday night. And I will say Wednesdays, the 209 awards that you've seen around for a long, long time. It's always people have like the little 209 stamp. On Wednesdays, the East Meets West food truck, they have got the 209 award for like the best food truck. And
Dude,
I'm saying they have some delicious grub.
their pork belly chicken,
Bao bun.
their bowl.
The bowl. Yeah.
The pork belly. Dude, it is amazing. It's one of my favorite things to eat.
Do you get the ginger chicken or you get the pork belly?
Pork belly, man.
Oh yeah. No, they do some amazing food, and bao buns. They do little bao buns, little sandwiches with some great, just super tasty. So,
It's sponsored by them.
maybe we should.
Sponsored by Bao Buns.
East meets West, but I'm saying they are legit. And if you've never tried them, head down to Last Call on a Wednesday night, and they will be there. And it's packed. Like the Last Call is packed on Wednesday nights. Not only because they have great beer, but also because they have one of the best food trucks around the valley.
I would love to shout out East Meets West because when I played there, I used to do Wednesdays, and they were usually there on a Wednesday. That's kind of their night, and they are the only food truck that has ever got me food, prepared it, and then brought it to me after I was done playing because they usually shut down before I'm done. They've always brought me something after because I say, man, I don't want to eat before I play because I just feel gross when I eat before I play. It just feels bad and I burp and stuff. And so
I'm glad you brought this up because this is my problem with East Meets West is that I was down there one time when East Meets West was there, and I was like, I'm going to wait a few minutes to get my food. And then I walked back out, and they were like, we're literally sold out of everything. And I was like, oh, cool, I guess I won't eat tonight.
That was old, though. They've gotten way better. Like, that was when they were really starting to get popular, and I think they were just having a bad time. They know how to handle their crowds now as far as I don't think I've ever been down there where they've sold out of food in a long, long time.
well, they won a 209 award, so they must have figured something out.
Yeah, they're good to go.
The 209. Put on your Ed Hardy.
So we're talking to a director.
Tap out.
We were talking to a director, Gavin O'Connor. Is that how you?
What accent was that?
I don't
dude?
know what
I liked
accent
it.
that was.
Gavin O'Connor.
You know what I think?
Gavin O'Connor.
Let's see.
Gavin O'Connor. Gavin O'Connor.
Kevin O'Connor. How many good movies have you made?
Besides Entourage. Is that? No, that's not that dude. Is Kevin O'Connell? Is that his name?
I stopped listening to you.
The main dude from Entourage.
Oh,
Mark Wahlberg,
No,
the guy that looks like Nick.
Adrian Grenier.
no, the one that was like
Grenier.
that, like the agent
Oh.
or whatever his fucking name
you
was.
talking about his real name or
No,
his
you're
character
talking
name?
about the friend that's like.
Ari Gold.
You're so lost on this now. No, like the
So we're
main-
talking to a director.
Yeah, we're talking to Gavin.
Gavin O'Connor.
There you go. Maybe.
That was not even.
He's Sean
close to being
Connery
good. I was
now.
making fun of you.
Gavin O'Connor.
I'm just saying. Gavin O'Connor is a director, and we have some questions for him. And I think there's a lot of questions about choices. We talked a little bit about the music, but the idea of making an MMA movie, and it's very, I'm not going to say formulaic, but it's also weirdly formulaic. Like it kind of follows a path that you can see coming from a mile away, but you also don't mind necessarily because it's done so well. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think of that? Is that agreed?
So can we air grievances? Is that where we're going with this?
Well, I asked a question, but if we weren't listening to me, that's fine.
Well, no. I was totally listening.
So I'm not. I guess I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interestingly. Is it formulaic? Like let's ask what the formulaic parts are. So like in the for one thing, I guess it's not formulaic. If nothing for no other reason than it's pretty rare for you to have two like protagonists that you really don't know which one you're rooting for.
Well, I think
I'm
formulaic.
saying halfway they decide that both of them are going to. So from the point where both of them get into the tournament, I think you pretty much realize
They're gonna fight each other.
they're going to fight each other.
Sure, but
Right.
but you don't. I mean, usually the formulaic in that movie is that the one you're rooting for is going to win. You very much don't know who's going to win
Well, what's formulaic
until the end.
to me is the fact that it's what you're talking about with formula is underdogs, because neither one of them nobody knows who he is, and the other one he's like, both of them actually they don't know who they are. They're just these guys that come out of nowhere. Tom Hardy, what's his name, Tommy. He shows up at this gym, beats the shit out of the champion
Bulldog or whatever his fucking name is.
and so it's like that's kind of the formula. Like here comes the underdogs out of nowhere, and that's just kind of how movies are with like this.
Well, and the doubting wife, the
Right.
everybody's counting me out. Like, oh, I'm down to my last. Like, if I don't win this, I'm gonna be out of everything. Like, there's
Right.
some formula there that is all like, you don't think he's ever gonna get kicked out of his house. Like, he's not gonna be on the streets.
But
like,
the question is the formula? I love it. I don't give a shit.
that's what I'm saying.
I
It
don't
doesn't
care.
matter to
so
me.
To answer your question is I fucking give me all the formula you want because it's amazing.
yeah.
So this is like we've talked about this before. There's like movies that you couldn't make today, right? So like this is a movie, in my opinion, and you'll see where I'm going with this. This is a movie, in my opinion, that you couldn't make today, and that's because if they were really going to lose their house, and if their daughter was so sick that they needed to go into debt and do all of these things, like his wife is on OnlyFans, right? And they're fucking just fine. Like that's obviously
she has more options
That's
in-
obviously
in
where it goes.
2024
In
than-
2010, like they don't know what to do. Like she's just a waitress at a bar. But in 2024, she's making $80,000 a month.
She's making
selling
snaps.
pictures of her feet.
Or Snapchats and
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a big point. My other point is that
It doesn't age well in that sense.
no,
for
no,
sure.
not at all. It's like when you talk about movies with it's like before cell phones, after cell phones, right? Like
Well,
you
what-
can't make a good comedy before cell phone or after cell phone.
But
But
it's
like now it's
BFOF,
before
Yeah.
OnlyFans or after OnlyFans.
Why do I feel like the OnlyFans won't publish those statistics of how many of their stars are trying to prevent their house from being foreclosed upon?
I mean,
I want to see those stats of like people that are in dire straits that are making it on OnlyFans. Like what's the percentage here?
I first of all, I saw an article. Today. Literally saw an article today about how the OnlyFans bubble has burst, and like because there's so many people trying to do it now,
Right.
That like it's not as
Oh, it's like craft beer?
lucrative as it was. It's totally like craft beer, but yeah, it's like this story about this poor girl who thought she was gonna make all this money, but there's just too much. It's like podcasts. Like there's so many podcasts.
Podcast is the perfect example.
Yeah, there's a ton of great content, a lot of boobs out there, but unfortunately, there's a lot of boobs out there.
but you got to find your niche, right?
Right.
Like you got to be like,
But the niches have been
Yeah.
Really
But and very much like
Flooded with squirt.
very much like podcasts. Who are the people that are making the most money in podcasts? Are the people who are already well known.
Right.
They have some type of celebrity status. Those are the folks like I mentioned before, Daniel Tosh. Like he's got a podcast that all of a sudden is just like boom, it's a hit because he's like fucking well known comedian that's gonna OnlyFans. If you have some type of notoriety or Hawk Tuah girl, how long before she has an OnlyFans that's making like probably like $1 billion per day?
She says she's not going to do
Yeah,
it.
she's got some integrity, bro. Come on, back off of Hawk Tuah.
I'm actually, there's been a lot of takes on Hawk Tuah girl lately that have been very negative, and I'm very pro Hawk Tuah girl.
She was
I think
just
she's
on,
fucking awesome.
She's on Bill Maher.
And she's great on it. I just watched
She was on Bill Maher?
On the podcast, his
okay.
smoking weed podcast or whatever it's called.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of integrity. So, my other thing.
Exactly. She spits on OnlyFans. You know what I mean?
I've been rewatching The Shield with my son, and just that same thing about like technology. It's like the cell phones they have, they would all be tracked, like where they're like the cops are doing some terrible shit. Like you would know where they are. It's like that's one thing that the show holds up pretty well, but it's like the flip phones, and
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, well, they're not as well known
You take
where they are.
You take a movie like Superbad or American Pie or all those movies, you give them cell phones and that shit fucking falls apart really quick because they're just like, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm right here. Okay, we're gonna go. You know what I mean? Like the movie falls apart quickly. So the OnlyFans angle was just something that I was thinking about because the wife is.
I mean, I guess on the formulaic though, again, like. So the formula is we know that bad things aren't going to happen, right? He faces adversity that we don't think is going to actually. Again, I mean, yeah, okay, like I get it, but if that's the formula, like 99% of movies are like formulaic in that one way that the hero. Faces adversity. Ultimately, it doesn't take them down. So I mean, I'm not saying that there's not formulaic elements in the sense that like they force the arc a little bit toward that sort of like showdown. But to me, right, I think I actually would make the case. I mean, give me another movie that's a sports movie of this sort, which is I think part of what we're talking about, or another analogous movie where there are two main characters, both of whom are competing in whatever the thing is, that you're rooting for both of them, and you literally have major disagreement or just don't know who's going to win.
You've obviously never seen that Will Ferrell's ice skating movie.
Blades of Glory.
Blades of Glory.
First of all, Blades of Glory is a national treasure. So I have seen it.
I'll give you a real life example. Banana Ball, for all of you banana maniacs out there that have been watching Banana Ball.
No idea what you're talking about.
The Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals. I'm rooting for both of them. They're amazing.
That's the movie that needs to follow the Warrior format.
You're getting a lot of blank stares on that one.
So I guess
I know people were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
So I guess my issue is when you talk about formulaic.
I watched a lot last week.
The only way that they can make the formula work, which is the two brothers are going to meet at some point, right? In the $5 million showdown, because you can talk about the formula or the way that the UFC tournament works, which is completely insane, or the way that like all these
MMA
different things.
It's
yes,
not UFC's.
I'm sorry. All the ways that like the actual way that the tournament falls apart for me. But if you're taking 16 of the best middleweights in the world, and some guy makes a phone call, and we've got a fucking physics teacher that has not had any professional fights and has
they say he was in the UFC. He was previously in the UFC. That's when he got in the hospital, and that's why his wife is like so sketch.
The way they talk about him, though, the way that Brian Callen like expounds for an hour about how he's fucking obviously going to die, and we just have to wait until he dies, and like, you know what I mean? Like, how does this guy get into the top 16? Like, there's got to be some guy.
That is the weakest part of the whole
right?
movie.
I think
I agree.
That part is the part where I have to suspend disbelief and be like, okay, because I can get over the wife not doing OnlyFans. I can get all of those, get over all those things.
I think I would go one step further and say that like it's a little bit of a solvable issue without too much, which is like, they decide to have one slot. Like the way that it's explained, right? That like. certain promoters who are known, right, get to nominate. You
Yes.
nominate a fighter, right? Like,
But this is where
they have all these different. It's the NCAA tournament, right? It's like there's different ways you make it in, and one slot is like you can win an open like an open Grand Prix, and so then Brendan wins amongst a bunch of amateurs.
But he should have had either a tournament that he wins to get in.
That's my point. Yeah,
Or he should have had. They should have really played up the fucking backstory about how he was going to lose his house. Like, the announcer should have known all this, and they've been like, "This is why he got in, because he's this great story, right?"
Yeah.
But instead, they're just
that's
like,
not
he's
bad
a guy that's going to just go get slaughtered, and then he happens to fucking
Win the whole
tap
thing.
out some people. Yeah.
So,
So just real quick on that note, though, the Strike Force, which was kind of like the underdog to the UFC forever, they did a heavyweight tournament. It started in 2011, ended in 2012, but it was not a single 2-night thing like that. It was multiple events that took place, and so there was never 2 fights in a row.
Right.
So it was like, I mean, you would fight, and then you would fight, and then you'd fight later on, a few weeks and stuff like
But
that.
there's no sport ever. Like, you would never have a basketball team play a game and then play another game an hour later. Like, there's nothing.
But Pride in Japan used to do tournaments where it was like you would fight all in the same. The original UFCs were they were all original. You would fight 3 or 4 times in a day.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, but
forgotten
then
about that.
once it started getting regulated, that's when all the sports commissions would be like, "Fuck no, we're not doing that." It's too
So I
much
guess we just
liability."
pretend like that never happened. We continue with that model, and that's why they let him come out for the 5th round with a broken fucking shoulder or whatever. Like, there's no doctor
there's
that goes and looks at him.
Definitely some disbelief that has to be that, and that's the one thing as somebody who's been a pretty big mixed martial art fan since like the early UFC days. It's like that part of it you really have to like just I can. There's some people I've seen reviews where it's just like, oh, this movie's so fucking stupid, blah 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 blah, and I have some problems. Like there's way too many like gigantic suplexes, but they look good for a movie. Like you don't see that very
When he
often.
throws him against the cage, that
Yeah.
shit is wild.
There's some stuff like that, and then the fact that like they're both gigantic like wrestling backgrounds, but yet they're striking so much. Like I mean, that's like especially Tommy. Like he's supposed to be this just gigantic like wrestler. Like that's where he's.
He doesn't
dominant.
wrestle anybody the whole time.
No, he rarely ever uses his wrestling, and it's like you would think, okay, if that's what his background
Right.
is, his striking could be okay. I mean, maybe he's a super athlete, and I mean, considering those traps, he probably is. But
Brad, I want to be at the weigh-in when that Russian guy weighs the same as Brendan.
well, that's the other
You
thing.
fucking kidding me?
The weight division here, they're all supposed to be, I think, light heavyweights. I think is what the tournament is.
well,
but it's
Tom
like-
Hardy looks like twice as big as Brendan, and
But at least he's shorter than him. Like the Russian guy's taller than him and way more massive than him.
Well, the
And-
first guy Brendan fights, Anthony Rumble Johnson, is, or I think it's the second one. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
the crazy thing about that dude is he actually fought at 170s at one point, and then he never fought below like 205s. Like after like the initial part of his like UFC career, he's just a big dude. I actually sat next to him at a UFC event, and he had just had a broken arm, and he was just gigantic. I was like, how the fuck did this guy ever fight at 170? Like,
Okay, so let's ask you this: do you think you could take him with a broken arm? If you
No.
if he had a broken arm and you had your mustache,
Anthony Rumble Johnson would beat the fuck out. But this does bring up my second conversation that I want to have, and we're doing a Dream Director. We'll fuck it. A long discussion between me and Nate, an argument that we had multiple times, was that in her prime, Ronda Rousey versus Nate,
I would win.
who would win? And Nate is very adamant that he would destroy
I didn't
Ronda
say
Rousey.
destroy.
this is
But
my
I'd win.
favorite
You
argument.
would win. And I want to just hash this out right now. What do y'all think? This is a judo Olympic medalist who also ended up being in the UFC and being pretty
Olympic
dominant for a while.
medalist in judo.
She knows how to use your leverage against you.
so Nate,
I don't have leverage. I'm that good.
Like
Do you
your
think
weight
you'd keep
against
her keep her at bay with your boner?
That's one. That would be one strategy.
Now-
Yeah.
do you have any actual like training
Irrelevant.
basketball.
Okay,
Irrelevant.
basketball.
Male
that was the only
genetics.
training.
I'm trained in never quitting.
You
He's training
I'm
hard.
trained in never stop.
you
never
would
stopping.
quit in 30 seconds, maybe less, because she would get you in an arm bar or something, and she'd fuck you.
I just think gas tank wise is what it would be like. I think she could stick around enough to like gas you out.
I think the problem. I think we would draw.
and then maybe just start kissing.
No, I'm just saying. I think you make a good point, right? Like I'm not sure I could win because I don't know what I would do to win, but I would definitely not lose. I would just like sit on her.
Well, I think that's the problem though, is that like when you get into like a submission hold.
I was a lot more bullish about this when we talked about this 15 years ago.
That is true. That when she was kind of at her heyday, like that's when
That's
Nate and I
probably
were
20 years ago.
No, because my daughter was like her for Halloween, and like she was like 7 or 8 or something. So we're talking like 7 years ago.
I don't think so.
Okay, wait. So this is interesting. Okay, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
I won't.
Okay. What would you be weighing in at the fight? What would you be like? What's your fighting weight? Like if you in this
in that scenario,
yeah.
How long do I have to train?
If you were like, I've got 3
training?
months.
I've
got 3 months to train to fight this girl.
No, I don't think we ever talked about train. No, it was like the fight happens
Tomorrow.
tonight.
Like tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with like 260.
Okay. So you're 260. So this is interesting because I had no idea. Her fighting weight was 135.
Yeah, she fought 135.
She's pretty tiny.
It has always been my point.
You're still getting your ass kicked.
No way.
So this is the age old argument though, right? Like, how much does weight go into this? Whether female, male, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Like
her speed.
When
and
I
technique
went, but this is the thing. So when I went to the grocery store in an adjacent town to us, and I stood in line, and the tiniest man that I have ever seen in my life was standing next to me, and the cashier was freaking out because they were like, "Oh my God, you're the guy, you're the guy, you're the guy." And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this tiny man?" And it was Michael McDonald, who is a fucking fought in the UFC and like fought for a title. I don't think he ever won the title, but he fought for a title at like 115s or something like that. And this man, I mean, there's just
he fought 135s.
I'm not I would never tell anyone that I'm a tough man, but there is zero bar fights where I wouldn't be like, I'm gonna fucking kill this tiny person, and he would absolutely destroy me, right? Like, so like, where does the like weight come into it, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like this guy was so little. Like, I'm telling you, this guy was so little.
I think I said it before. I've rolled with him
with Michael McDonald,
with
right?
Michael McDonald, and I passed his guard one time. There was a thing like the pros would lay down their backs and like you get in their guard, and then you'd have to try.
And
to
this
pass.
is you at 220, and him at like 130.
And like I made a kind of a little slick move one time and kind of passed his guard, and I felt like a fucking champion. And he's like, "Oh man, good pass, good pass." So I was like, he gave me props. But most of the time, he was submitting me like just boom, instant.
Easily, right?
Yeah, where it's just like I think I'm doing something. All of a sudden, he's got my arm,
and you literally had 100 pounds on him.
Yeah. So I mean, I one time passed his guard. Rest
I think
of the time,
that's actually the greatest. I think you should tell that story more often. I think that's fucking pretty awesome.
I mean, that was just like, you know, I that was pretty much just me brute weighting it, like, and just like just trying to like use all my weight. And a lot of the people that I would roll with that were smaller than me, like I'd roll with a brown belt, and like the guy would be like, all you're doing is trying to use your weight. Like, you need to learn technique. You need to learn technique because technique's what's going to do well for you. He's like there was one guy, like one time I was kind of just using my weight and got past him, and or like I don't know, I might have actually submitted him, and then like 4 times in a row he was just like, "Fuck you," and just cranking my neck. Because it was like he knew I was just trying to like just brute strength it versus technique. And
so Nate, how would you beat Ronda Rousey? What would you do?
You know, I feel like I would just bear hug her
I think that's the move.
and just like squeeze her until she gave up.
You got to try and get on top, right?
She's gonna break
Like a little missionary. Is that a UFC hold?
Full guard. I think they call that full guard. I think they have full guard.
Okay, all right.
They call it.
When
This is the problem. Is like I'm not sure I was ever like, yeah, I have this plan to beat her. It's just I was like, I'm a lot bigger than her, and I'm not like a lot bigger and like just like totally completely out of shape. No,
What's so crazy is that I think she would beat you, but I would have a tough time betting against you.
I mean, my problem that I have in a lot of ways is that I sort of agree. Like I don't have an intellectual belief that I'm like particularly tough, but I have a to a fault belief that like
this is your biggest fault.
A to a fault like willingness to just absolutely fight. Anyway, like the Ronda Rousey conversation is actually the less interesting one.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, you put a UFC guy in front of me, and I'd be like,
Cain Velasquez. Nate would be like, I'll fight him.
I'm like, I'm not, and in that case, right? I'm not like I'm going to beat him, but I'm like, I don't give a shit.
I rolled
I'll
one
fight that
time
dude.
out of shape. I'll admit it was like I hadn't trained in a while, and I was rolling in with like a 300-pound dude. And at one point, he was in my guard, so like I'm on my back, and just by the sheer weight of him on top of me, and not being able to get my breath, I ended up like I had to tap. Like I was just like I was so
Because he was just laying on you?
basically just laying on me, and I couldn't get my breath, and he was using his weight properly. I mean, he was just like using it all, it's just resting on my chest. And I was like, fuck, man. Like,
I do tend to use my weight well. So I will
This
say
goes
that.
into one of my favorite Shane Gillis stand-up routines where he's talking about having sex with a girl and just like laying all of his weight on top of her. And she just goes, oh, Jesus, mister.
Well, I mean, that's not bad feedback.
He also recently
I'd
told a
love to
story.
hear that.
He recently told a story about talking shit to Rogan, and then like he's like
Rogan fucked him
he's
up.
Like, yeah, he says that he tapped him like 7 times in a row. But he's like even when we're like fucking like actually just kind of like wrestling a little bit, I just be like, fuck you little bitch, you're not that tough, and all of a sudden just kept getting tapped.
So did any of you guys wrestle at all, like growing up? As far as like,
I did.
I have a picture of me like in like I think I was like 7 years old or 6 years old.
yeah.
And my mom, I'm on my back getting pinned, but with a smile. I'm smiling.
Oh, really?
I'm like smiling
loving it.
as I got fucking
Did you
pinned.
wrestle Scotch?
So
What are you trying to say,
Because I've got a
Scotch?
great wrestling
You were
story.
loving it?
I want to hear it.
I was just saying, yeah, you're loving it. You're smiling. You're like, this is exactly what I want to be, getting pinned by a man.
Damn.
So my wrestling career, if you can call it that, I think I did when I was a kid and didn't last very long. Wasn't into it, whatever. So my senior year, in between football and baseball, and so football and baseball were my only 2 sports that I really played. And I was in the wrestling room screwing around with a buddy of mine. We were just going whatever, and I'm like, maybe I'll wrestle, and like that'll help me get in shape for baseball.
Yeah.
Sweating, and it's what a
There's
great idea.
nothing to get you in shape like wrestling.
And then I heard that they didn't have a heavyweight. And as all you guys know, I'm heavy. So I figured perfect. And so, they had no heavyweight. And so like, well, shit, you can wrestle and get in shape. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I went to practice, and it was brutal, man. Amazing workout. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating when I say I hadn't wrestled my entire life, didn't know shit. After 1 week of practice, they took me to a tournament.
Yeah.
And in like the Bay Area, giant schools, right? And Houston we used to have a really good wrestling program. And we go to this tournament, and I'm the heavyweight. So I'm the guy. I know zero about anything. I proceed to get my ass fucking destroyed by these big motherfuckers that are doing shit to me. And I don't know how to escape. I got coaches yelling at me to do this and that. I don't even hear where the words are coming. They say, blah, 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 do this. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And it's absolute. There's one guy who literally spun me over, stuck his armpit over my face, and I couldn't breathe because all I had was in my face was armpit.
Yeah.
And I was running out of breath, so I just literally stuck my shoulder back on the ground so they'd pin me, right?
Just pin me, bro.
So this whole time, I'm fucking getting my ass destroyed. And as I'm going through the day, because there's tons of matches,
Yeah.
and I noticed this guy across the ring or the whole auditorium, he's mad dogging me. Like this kind of, he's a Mexican dude with a mustache. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Why is this guy staring at me all day long? Don't know why.
Racism.
All of a sudden, we get to the last match of the day, and Houston's not doing well. I don't know, like just a bad day or whatever. We're not winning any matches as a team.
Damn, coach probably wanted to murder somebody.
Well, the fact that their heavyweight was probably getting pinned every single time he went out there was probably a reason. But so this guy's mad. All of a sudden, I realized the last match of the day is that team with that guy, and like he knew that he was going to face me. He's trying to like psych me out all day.
And
So
you're like, you wasted a lot of time today, man. Like,
I know, right?
a lot of energy.
So try to make the long story short, we start wrestling, right? and and I'm just lasting. I'm trying to, like what you would do with Ronda Rousey.
Just see if I can
just
get a
through
draw.
it.
Yeah, when you're wrestling Ronda Rousey, you got to try to last a long time.
He's doing all kinds of moves and shit. He's getting around on me. I'm escaping every now and then, whatever. And we get through a first round. I'm like, dude, it's literally
this is my second round.
First time I ever got through the first round. I get to the second round and we're going at it, and I'm just fighting, just trying to. It is probably the score is probably like 8-0 at this point or maybe 8-2 because I got a couple of escapes. It doesn't matter. We get to the third round. And I'm like, holy shit, what's happening right now? And by the way, we're down by enough points to where if I lose, we're going to lose. If I win, we win that match.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, fuck. But I literally don't know what to do. Finally, we end up, we're grappling around. We get on the ground, and I end up stalling enough time to where we have to stand us back up. I get a second wind. I jump up. I'm ready to go. This guy's just slowly picking himself up off the floor. He's like dying. I'm like, oh my God, he's gassed. He's totally gassed. We fucking lock up. We're standing up. His arm drops to the ground. I lean into him. He falls on the ground. I land on top of him and I pin his ass.
Oh,
This is the best story I've ever fucking heard.
You're a champion wrestler.
And fucking, I pinned him. And all of a sudden, the whole team jumps up. They're like, and I'm like, holy shit, what just happened?
That's
This
an
is
amazing story. It's very formulaic, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Bro, we should make a movie.
And I literally didn't use one wrestling move that could be classified as a wrestling move. I literally just lasted as long as I could. I leaned on him, fell on top of him, and I won.
He wasn't ready for that farmer fucking gas, dude.
If we make that movie and at the end, movies where they put like what happens to all the different characters, I can't wait for that.
I can't beat that story, but I got to tell my wrestling story.
But let me just
Keep going.
I
This
just want
is
to
the best shit I've ever heard.
Finish literally.
Wait, why? How are you not going to finish there?
What? Well, I was going to say is the next week I got thrown down in practice, hurt my wrist, and I said, "Fuck this! I'm going to play baseball."
Worst end to a movie I've ever seen.
We didn't need the kicker.
Wait, if the movie ends with Scott pinning the guy, they win the tournament, and then it's the writing comes up, and it's like Scott hurt his wrist the next week and quit the team.
Forget about the writing. I want to see that scene and then just credits. That would at least not be formulaic.
Okay, so quickly, my wrestling story, not as good as Scott's, but just as funny. So I came to go to school at the school district here in third grade, and the first friend I made was this kid named Keith, who happened to later on win 2 state championships in wrestling as a high school wrestler. So he's a fucking badass, but he's in third grade.
And we're in California, y'all. For all you listening from other places, like when some dude wins, like,
there's a big difference.
I was a Montana state champion wrestler. It's like, fuck you. You wrestled against like 4 people and you knew all of them
literally,
since you were in third grade.
Literally 2-time state champion at 171 or something
California,
like that.
which is a wrestling state.
Yeah. So anyways, we're in third grade. Keith's my only friend. He's like, you should wrestle. I wrestle. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll wrestle. That sounds awesome. So I tell my dad I want to wrestle. My dad's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I want to wrestle. So one of the funny parts is I have to buy wrestling shoes. My dad buys me basketball shoes that are the fake Reebok pumps that have the pumps on them, but when you press the thing, nothing happens. It just has like the basketball on it that you pump. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Are these like XJ900s or something?
They were like Payless shoe store versions of
the XJs.
of the Reebok pumps. Anyways, so I've got my Reebok pumps on, and I'm going to wrestling practice and blah, blah, blah. And I weigh 70 pounds. I remember they write 70 pounds on my shoulder. And so I go to the first tournament and I'm fucking weighing in. And my dad always tells a story. So I go, and my first wrestling match, they say, oh, you're going to go over to this mat or whatever. And I go over there, and there's other kids over there. My dad's standing on the sideline, and my dad goes to the other kid's dad, who's also standing there, and says, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And the other kid's dad says, hey, what do you do? My dad says, oh, I sell agricultural chemicals. And my dad says, what do you do? And the kid's dad goes, I'm a college wrestling coach.
Good luck.
And I get fucking pinned in like 4 seconds and cry. And then I have my next match and I get pinned and cry. And I have my next match and get pinned and cry. So all day long I get beaten and cry. And then the next week we have to go to another wrestling thing. And I'm like telling my dad, like, I don't know. My dad's like, we signed up for this shit. Like, you're going to do it, right? And so fucking we go. and you wrestle against kids from your own school. So guess who's this fucking 70-pounder? Keith, the reason why I joined wrestling is because Keith came to class for show and tell in 3rd grade, and he had 700 medals, and he like held them up in front of the whole class and was like, look at all these fucking medals I have. And I was like, that's fucking badass. I want some medals. And he fucking toyed with me in front of everybody because I was his friend, and fucking didn't pin me. And I remember his dad, who is a fucking massive man who looks like Hulk Hogan, screaming from the, pin his ass, what the fuck are you doing? Fucking kill him. And Keith's like not pinning me because I'm his friend. And then fucking he didn't pin me and then came out. And then I remember afterwards he like came to me and was like, yeah, like next time I gotta fucking pin you because my dad's like super upset. And then I quit.
Yeah,
So that's my wrestling story.
I beat Keith's dad's ass a couple of years ago.
In what?
Ping pong.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, not in wrestling,
It's a fact.
because he's a fucking savage.
The best Formula One race, and when I was in Barcelona last week, I went to a Formula One race, which was
Barcelona.
awesome. And the best racer right now is Max Verstappen, and his dad, Jos Verstappen, actually
It's
raced.
Yoth.
It's Jos, I think. I don't know, Jos.
Joth.
But he raced as well. They're both Dutch, and there's some terrible memes though, because like allegedly his dad, I mean, beat his mom a little bit, and like allegedly was just a absolutely aggro dad when his son was racing go-karts and stuff. And so it's like when Max was starting to not do well this season, there was like all these memes of like Max not getting first place, and it's like just a gif of some guy like taking off his belt. Just like he's just gonna fucking
I think the moral of the story from these stories and the movie is that if your dad doesn't beat your mom, you're probably not going to be a professional athlete. Like,
That's our lesson. That's our lesson from this.
Oh my gosh. Well,
What else we got from the director?
I'm glad that because it was funny because you brought something up that I completely annihilated my point about there's no way that someone can fight 4 times in 2 days, but I forgot about those early UFC.
Oh, yeah.
That
and
I
you forgot
watched.
about the wrestling match you won on your 4th match of the day when you pinned fucking Javier from fucking Livermore. Jesus.
But I did want to say that we were talking about a black thing floating around in my glass, and it's not in there anymore.
It's a bug.
Oh.
In your belly.
It's literally floating
I
around
said
in
it was
your
either
ass now.
vitamins and or minerals.
Well, I have them in my belly.
So just my last thing on Dringo Director, could we ask this guy, in his mind, because he wrote it and he directed it, do Brendan and Tommy reunite with the dad, or is that relationship broke at the very end? Let's have that conversation real quick.
Well, I know what I want, but I probably know what happened. I would love for them to kind of all come together and have everything be all happy and rosy, but I know there's no fucking way that's possible.
So that's my thing. So I love the character of the dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a great character. He's a great actor. How much do you want like a happy ending for a guy that used to beat his wife?
I know.
And fucking like was
He was
generally a piece
1,000
of
days
shit
sober.
forever.
But
No, that's great. But like,
accomplishment.
what's your punishment for that? Like how do you come back from beating my mom?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
But the
Like-
movie does a great job of handling that. I think that's what that's what I love about the movie, is that like they're so fucking aggressive against him, both of them, like where they're just like fuck you.
And I think to answer the question, I mean, no, like I don't actually think much changes. Like
I don't think so either.
I actually think,
yeah.
you know, there's a world in which you can imagine a scene with both of them where he kind of like thinks that something's changed. What I actually like potentially is the more ambiguous point is whether the brothers in some way like have a relationship, which I actually think is also not a clear resolution, right? I mean, it seems possible that, you know, Tommy's a long way from like becoming stable.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that in a sense, right, that's going to be very unappealing for Brendan.
Well, and he's also going to prison.
Like, if you're going to prison, well, there is that.
Is that what happens? You
Oh yeah.
your entire unit gets murdered by friendly fire, and you
They're not
decide to
super-
take off, and then they're like,
They're not
okay,
he
now you're-
deserted though.
Deserting the military is not.
That's bad.
It's
I get that. I get that, but like, there's some context. Like, we were getting killed by our own guys.
Maybe he does not get. Yeah, maybe he doesn't get prison. I don't know. I don't know how the military works on that, but
You think Brendan gives the mom of his partner some money? He's getting $5 million. You think he throws her a couple $100,000 to like?
Oh, he definitely supports Tommy in some way. Like he,
But the mom of Tommy's
No,
buddy.
I think he gives some to Tommy.
I think so too.
So real quick, we just walked past it a little bit. You really think, because they found out that he deserted before the fight, you really think they'd let him fight?
I thought that part was ridiculous.
Yeah, they're like, and after this
I
fight,
absolutely.
and they showed some like military
I
dude.
absolutely think they would. Bro,
I don't think so.
Okay, come on.
The military is
The military is a shameless promoter.
And
They are. I mean,
I
do you
think-
know how much money they pay the NFL and Major League Baseball every year to like do their flyovers and all that kind of stuff?
I think what they were
They
showing.
100% would be like,
I mean, they got the government to lie about Pat Tillman for a while.
but Timlin?
Tillman.
Pat Tillman.
Tillman.
Oh, I knew about Tillman. I just Timlin.
Timlin
Did
was
I
a
say?
different guy.
I said Tillman, didn't I?
Hey, that was
Shit.
his brother that actually deserted after saving some guys in the tank. But Timlin, no, okay, sorry. What I got from it was that there were some guys standing outside the locker room, and I felt like those guys were like just
Yeah, the Marine was
some
there.
Marines that were like, "Hey, you're not going to fucking take Tommy before he wins this fucking tournament, right?" No,
No, I think the military was like, this is a great story and it's a great like piece of advertising for how badass the Marines are. We're gonna go ahead and like make sure he's.
how crazy was when he pulls up the video and he sees like the little like picture of Tommy in the video. There's no way he's like, this is the same dude. Like the fucking picture was so bad.
I knew it was
I don't
Tommy.
know. In weird moments like that where things slow down, like maybe there is just like that he has this just picture of who this dude
Yeah,
was.
except it didn't look like anything like him.
It didn't look like him at all.
I had the same
I'm
thought.
not even sure it was Tom Hardy in the picture.
I think they used another actor.
Oh, can we also talk about Tom Hardy? So I don't know what timeline it is as it fits into this movie, but Tom Hardy as a person entered an MMA tournament.
After this, so
It was after this, so you know the story.
Yeah, he starts training jiu-jitsu, I think, because of the movie. And then, gets good enough to be believable, but then I think continued and won under an alias, and I think pretty much undetected, won a
It was like a senior division, like
jiu-jitsu tournament in England.
But like a legit like amateur tournament, which is pretty fucking badass, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, super
No,
cool.
I mean I think everything I've ever read is that like he's a legit,
How many
jiu-jitsu
submissions
dude.
do you think he did with his traps? Trap submission. They're just like trap
Just
submission.
do that kind of like shrug. that high neck thing.
I want to go back real quick to the relationship because like you mentioned the one where somebody mentioned where the thing he says to Nick Nolte where it's like about his mom catching punches like
yeah,
that.
hard to find a woman that can take a punch. These days.
That shit was brutal. But then like just even with the dad, like when I was talking about like the question, like do they reunite? It's like when they're on the beach and they're having their conversation and he's talking about, well, you train with dad, like, or like you forget dad. He's like, who? He's like, that guy's just some vet that
Some
I
old
trained
drunk
with.
that I
Yeah.
trained with.
He's like,
Yeah.
some vet that I trained with. I was like, fuck, man. Like that's just ruthless.
So one thing that I want to sort of return and parallel something I said earlier, which is we talk about this sort of like lead into the movie with the song and the exit and how good that the musical element is. I think like one of the things I noted actually, like timed this time that is, I think, really attributable to the director who obviously also writes it, but like it's very directorial. And Brad and I, when we worked on our script, a lot of the feedback that we got years ago was like, you need to somehow do more with like less telling the audience what's happening and showing it to them, which I'm like, I don't know the fuck you do that on a page. But anyway, so if within
You did that a bunch last week, I think.
I think it's 2 minutes. Let me look at my note here, but I think it's within 2 minutes of the opening credits. You've already got like an enormous. You're already into it.
Tons of
with the two,
backstory, right?
and you have almost no dialogue. Within 10 minutes, with fairly limited dialogue and a ton of showing and not telling, you get a lot of context about all the main characters. And this is a movie that has, and this includes like Tess. So you've got a movie where you've got three main characters and one pretty like significant supporting one. And you already know a lot of their history, a lot of the like relationship between the dad and one of the brothers, the financial situation that's going to drive the movie. And that's less than 10 minutes from the credits. And it's not a movie that feels like forced.
And that's what goes into the best line of the movie when he talks about it's hard to find a guy that can beat or a girl that can take a punch that. Just that line like tells you like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit.
It's like the 15th line of the movie. It's like less than four minutes after credits, and so it's like one of these things where it's like you would feel jarred by it. I think in a lot of scenarios, and similarly. You can imagine a finish like that where there's so many of these questions that are unresolved, feeling a little upsetting. And somehow when you watch it, like you don't feel upset about that. It's like it gives you enough to feel really satisfied while leaving you a lot of room to like tell your own story about what happens afterwards in a pretty heavy way, right? It doesn't resolve it all happily in that way.
I forgot how the movie started. And then when I just rewatched it, I was like, oh, damn. And I think that first opening scene plays so much better the second time you've seen the movie. Like it's a fucking like it's balls. Like it's like for to start the movie with that scene, I could see it turning a lot of people off. Like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, what is going on here? Like, but when in context of knowing what happens, that opening scene is fucking
incredible.
Awesome.
It's so good. Although I will tell you, recently I've watched all of the Rocky and Creed movies with my son because he's very into boxing, very into those. And I'm actually pissed I didn't watch Warrior with him because I think he would really dig it, even though he's not into UFC.
Wait, he's watched it? He hasn't watched it yet?
He hasn't watched Warrior.
Oh yeah, then you go.
But he claims he's not. He doesn't like UFC. He likes just boxing. He's a purist at 12.
Well, they do a lot of boxing in this movie.
But what I'm saying is, after I watched it, I was like, damn, I should have watched that with him. But what I'm saying is, like, if you watch those Creed or Rocky movies, like, there's a ton of juxtaposition in the beginning. Like there's tons of storytelling and like this movie's right in line with those as far as that goes. And I think it does it better than all of those movies.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
This is truth. All right. Well, let's move on to our next category.
This episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Tap Out. Do you go to bars and your wife beater is not quite giving off the, illusion that you're a tough guy? Maybe your schmedium shirt isn't quite showing off the biceps like you thought it was going to. Is your wife scared of you? Do your kids cower every time you come home with Bud Light cans spilling out behind you as you open the door? Come on down and pick yourself up some Tap Out gear. If you don't have any fresh Ed Hardy shirts anymore because Ed Hardy is no longer cool, you can come and get yourself a Tap Out shirt. Do you want to make sure everyone knows that you wrestled until 3rd grade? Do you have a tattoo across your back that's your last name? Does your wife have an ankle tattoo? Tap Out. Do you yell 209 at the bar even though you live in Livermore? Do your jeans have jewels on the back pockets? Do you yell at the umpire at your kid's 3rd grade baseball game? Do you coach Pee-wee football even though you stopped playing in 7th grade? Pick up a Tap Out shirt. Tap Out. Make sure everyone knows that you have a small penis. Sorry, I was trying to free flow it, but it's fucking. There's so many in my head. I just couldn't.
I wasn't trying to speed you along.
Oh, I thought you were trying to tell me to kill it.
No, fuck! I said keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, you're doing great
I was wanting to hear that next line. You just started laughing
because he can edit it. He was saying keep going.
Yeah.
Oh my
So that made you
god.
laugh.
There's so many. There's
keep
so
going?
many.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you hit it with a shovel, or take it home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's Shag Snack Body Bag.
I haven't heard that song in like 2 weeks. What was the shovel? What was originally the shovel? Like what was this?
It was literally
Hit him with the shovel. What was that in relation to? Do
It
you
wasn't.
remember?
It's just the thing I can think of that was kind of silly and whatever. It didn't actually have to do with the movie.
I think it had to do with we did that movie where the guy was digging all the graves, right? The one that I picked.
Fuck.
But he doesn't hit anybody with a shovel.
With our boy
with Paxton.
Paxton.
God, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Well,
right
that
now.
movie,
Frailty.
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 that was like episode 2, and this song came out way after that.
So let me get this straight. You can't remember the name of the very first Bev's episode movie that you chose, but you were absolutely certain you remembered every episode we'd ever done.
My
Just absolutely.
I'm not sure if integrity is the right word, but it's in question.
right, we are shagging tonight. We've got some shags, and I'm just going to start because I'm an asshole and I want to start. And shagging Tom Hardy. Like, this is a movie where every time I rewatch it, there are 3 actors that do an amazing job. The guys that play Tommy, the guy that plays Brendan, and then of course Nick Nolte as Patty. Like, they all put on a tour de force. Crazy though is that it's a Brit and Australian playing American brothers, and they both. There's a couple times where
so the other guy's Australian, really?
Yeah, there's a couple times where Brendan, you can hear his Australian accent. There was one, I think it was when he's talking to Nick Nolte, like outside his house. There's one sentence he said, I was like, oh, that fucking sounded hella Australian.
He said something, and he's like, "Nar."
Threw in a wallaby.
He's like, mate.
Nar, Dad, nar.
but other than that, I mean,
apologies to our boy Steve, and who's
our Australian guy.
Stevie. I will say though that Tom Hardy doesn't have a lot of lines in this movie, but he says so many lines just by his body language, by his mannerisms, by his eyes, that you're like, this fucker is scary.
He's made a pretty good career of not saying a lot of lines, kind of like Mad Max Fury Road. He didn't say a lot in that either.
You know, his English accent or his American accent when he's not speaking, just by like moving his traps and like moving his face a little bit, like it really comes across.
I have a question. Okay,
all I want to say is that Tom Hardy is just a bad motherfucker in this movie, and you're really like scared by him. Like, it's like I know friends who have been like a little bit crazy, and he just has that.
I'd fight him.
He's got the psycho. He's got the psycho
Absolutely.
eyes.
He does the
I would win, but I'd
psycho
fight him.
persona just
fight him.
about to a T, where you're like, God damn it! When this guy just gets into his mode, you know that it's all bad. So I don't know. I think Tom Hardy is amazing, and the fact that he was not, if he was more well known, he would have been nominated for a supporting actor. Because like, I think if this movie happens like 2017, he's nominated.
Well, but Nick Nolte did get nominated. For
I know Nick
supporting
Nolte
actor.
did, but
He was nominated for a bevy for sure.
Well, but for an Oscar, he got nominated. For,
yeah,
for this role.
for best supporting. But I'm saying like
Yeah.
Tom Hardy maybe deserved it more than Nick Nolte.
Sure.
No agreements there.
I don't agree, but what I agree with is that they both should have been nominated.
Nick Nolte's doing the heavy lifting. Tom Hardy doesn't have enough for me to be like nominated for it, but
I would have nominated him. I just still think Nolte is the dude.
Yeah. So
I mean, Hardy gets. I mean, he could have been nominated for Best Actor. I mean, he's not in it.
I don't know if he's in it. He doesn't have enough lines.
Hard disagree.
Well, so earlier in the show, I was actually a little bit bummed out because obviously we had the, did we record this? Or actually, there's no we because I wasn't involved at all with the basement tapes. And Nate just very proudly and happily proved.
a little too happily.
Yeah, a little too happily. Proved you wrong. And then he was kind of going through the episode and playing some clips. And then you get
This is all off the record.
all
so,
off, yeah. And so, but he ended up playing the Shag Snag Body Bag portion, a part of it, and literally, Zach stole my fucking shag about
2000s
4 years ago.
2000 Zach.
But I'm gonna keep it because so piggybacking off of that, Tom Hardy's traps are just the most amazing.
Unfucking real.
Those things are just a fucking just sculpted amazing thing, and yeah.
It's a fun thing when you don't know where the man's neck, traps, or back begins and ends. I love that. Yeah. I think that that's a lost art. I think that like lately, I think people are trying to get in shape, but they're not
trapping enough.
They're not trapping. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, Nate.
No. What's your shag? I want to hear this because I got a question.
So my shag is apparently 4 years ago was Tom Hardy's traps also, which I had no idea about. But my shag is going to be, I've got 2 sons, brothers, 2 years apart. And it's just, when you watch this, the fucking like hatred and love at the same time between brothers. I know Brad's got an older brother. Scott's got an older brother. I never had a brother, so I don't know that. Nate didn't have a brother, so like it's different when you have a younger sister. Like both of us had younger sisters about the same like distance apart, and it's a much different bond. Like I love my sister; she's fucking awesome, but like I never had that hatred for her that like I think that like you sort of get growing up with a brother that has like that's like close in age to you. And I think this movie really plays to that, and it kind of comes across really great, especially when they meet up on the boardwalk and they kind of like have that like sort of contentious conversation, and then they're in the thing, and I assume that Brendan's the older brother. I don't know.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So Brendan's the older brother, and then the younger brother Tommy has that younger brother thing where it's like his fucking arm is broken. He can't move it at all.
Refuses.
And he just refuses to quit because he's like, I fucking, not only do I want to win, but it's my older brother and fuck him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's just like, my kids are only 12 and 14. And like I see that dynamic between them, which I thought was just really cool. And it made me think of them, and it made me think of like just the love that you can share with a brother while also fucking hating them. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird dynamic. Brad?
Yeah, and that's true, but I will say that one of my favorite scenes is on the beach between the brothers. But for me, just having my older brother, and we had our issues, like especially like when we were younger, but like once my brother got out of high school and like I got into high school, like I think there was like we kind of matured a little bit. But the idea of saying to somebody where he's like, come on, man, we're brothers, and he's like, oh, you were in the Corps? He's like, no. Oh, you weren't in the Corps. He's like, oh, then you're not my brother. Like, I can't imagine what would have to be going through me to like basically like disown my brother and say like,
Right.
you're not my brother. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but
Obviously,
you got to think about the
they lived
backstory.
apart from each other.
The
and-
backstory
yeah.
of like,
It's
I'm going to
evil.
stay with the dad that beat our mom, and I'm going to go with the mom and all that stuff. You
and
know what I mean?
that's-
Like,
I
that's
think
so
that's
crazy.
what gets to me, and that's what gets to my heart in the movie. But like, just for me as like my brother, I'm like, damn, like how would I disown my brother? But I guess if you put me in that situation, maybe it is a little bit different. But it's just, man, that line hits hard because it's like, even though my brother and like we hated each other times, like. It never would have got to that point, but I mean, I guess you put in the circumstances there.
But what's interesting is this movie spends a lot of time on a lot of things, but it doesn't spend a ton of time on that brother relationship until the very end, right? Until like that conversation that they finally see each other and have that conversation like on the boardwalk beach type thing. And then the last fight, like that's the only time the fight, the brothers really have,
is it.
and it hits so hard at the very end. The song comes in and he's telling him, Brendan, Tommy, like fucking, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. Like, don't.
And Tommy's vulnerable at the end when they're walking out of the ring. Like they're kind of like holding on to each other.
But you also know that Tommy would beat the fuck out of him, right? Like if he didn't break his arm, like Tommy beat all these professional UFC fighters in like 3 seconds. Like Tommy breezes through the tournament, right? Brendan gets his ass fucking kicked every single time and somehow comes out victorious. So it's like, that the brother Tommy is like better than him. I don't know. It's interesting. It doesn't really play off that brother relationship till the very end, and it still hits super hard. I love it.
Nate Dogg.
I got to shag the music. I mean, we've talked a lot about it, and I think it's in some ways it's gotten too much focus over the course of Bev's because the ending scene and is so powerful and the song is so powerful, and I think because we haven't done it in the modern era, since the Basement Tapes, we haven't talked about it holistically, and the songs have come up and finishes have come up. So there's parts of it obviously we've done on drafts, but. So I don't think it's not snaggable for me. Like it's not that level of like, this is the best thing about the movie, but I can watch that final scene, and I actually can watch the opening scene and kind of like absorb the way the music makes me feel. And I can listen to the final music, and it's, I guess maybe one way to put it is like, the movie is great, and it would still be great with different song choices, but it would be a lot less. It loses a lot, I think, without the right songs. and certainly the ending song. And so I'll take it straight to the main.
But it's such an emotional song. It makes the ending way more emotional. Like if it was "We Will Rock You" or some bullshit at the end, it makes it cheesy as fuck.
We used to do for a while in Bez where we would try to like fuck up the ending scene with like a different song. And I've been thinking about it. I was like, fuck, what songs would absolutely ruin the ending?
It's just heretical.
It was like something like Kid Rock, like where it's just like metal, like
with the ba comes in.
It just ruins all of it. It's like it's got to be emotional, but like I don't know. It was a good choice. It was different. All right, snaggies. What are we snagging? Nate, we'll go right back to you.
I'm absolutely taking Nolte. I think not just because he's great in this movie, but because like it itself is. I don't want to say it was like a comeback or anything because I don't know that per se. I would say that Nolte had fallen entirely. There was no like big disruptive fall from grace. But Nick Nolte was the sexiest man alive in like 1989,
which is insane,
and I think won an Oscar for like Prince of Tides in that era.
Sounds right.
And so like, he was a heartthrob, and he like has this moment, right, where for about 7 or 8 years he's kills it. He's sexy, he's a great actor, and then he just kind of he's not, and he's just forgotten a little bit, right, slowly. And so for me, it's not just that I think it's his best role, right, and for a guy who was sort of known as the sexy guy when he was also in his era where he did his most powerful acting up to that point, to be the old man, clearly not the sex figure at all, and to bring it so hard after having been so long kind of on the periphery, I don't know, it's hard not to want to take him every time.
I'll throw that out to you that he was Best Actor nominee in the Oscars for Prince of Tides in 92, Affliction in 99, which I have no clue what that is, and then of course Best Supporting Warrior 2012.
Remember him in Affliction.
I mean, but Blue Chips, he's fucking great in Blue Chips.
No,
Almost a very similar role.
He's great, and he does have other things, and he has some of those like buddy comedy cop.
The 48 Hours.
48 Hours.
I mean, that's classic.
So there's classic.
Starring
I'm not saying that
Gus Villarreal, our boy.
That's right. He was in. I forgot about
our hometown hero.
He was in 48
He
Hours.
was in 48 Hours.
Yeah.
As what?
He plays one of the because he was a professional bodybuilder at the time, and he plays one of the guys on the chain gang when they're
I did
linked
not
together.
know this.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
this is Gus's claim to fame. My boy.
I didn't know he was a professional bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, you should see some pictures. Now he's coaching my son in youth football.
Okay.
My thing for Nick Nolte is like, is it makeup or was his face just that like red and like kind of like where he looks like he's an alcoholic and like a recovering
He
alcoholic?
battled a lot of substance.
Yeah.
and
I know he has
alcoholism.
his own issues throughout his life, but it's just like I wonder if they were like making that up to like look worse, or if it was just like his normal look and they're like, fuck it, you got it going on. You look like an alcoholic because you were.
Well, I have written down here as one of my snags is drunk Nick Nolte, and because he just plays it, he's just such.
And he's only drunk for like 3 minutes.
And it's
Dude, when he's
it's
like
so
yelling at
amazing.
his face, like
It's so
yelling at
great.
his face.
yeah. But there's
God damn you!
there's a movie called
Turn the boat around.
it's called Down and Out in Beverly Hills, where he's like starts off as like this homeless guy, and he plays disheveled and just down on your luck so well, which is kind of like it's this obviously with the alcoholism and whatever. But Down and Out in Beverly Hills, he starts off just all fucked up.
Well,
But would you agree that?
did he have one of the worst like notorious mugshots of all time too?
That-
Yes, disheveled as fuck. That's what.
Yeah.
Like, that's my point. Like you can't get that method unless you fucking
Have been there.
have been there, right? Like, so my thing with Nick Nolte, and I think he's amazing in this movie, fucking just absolutely amazing. But he does different voices throughout this movie. I feel like in the beginning he's doing like a normal voice, and then after a while when they do go to the diner scene, he's doing like a real gravelly, like fucking.
But he switches there.
Yeah, that's what I
kinda
mean. He
goes
switches
there.
voices.
I almost picked that up, read that as like him kind of reverting a little bit.
I think so too. I think so too. I
He's
think
like,
I think
"Oh,
the
fuck,
minute
I get to coach again.
the minute he
fuck
starts
yeah."
coaching his son, he's like, I'm gonna have a drink. I'm gonna have a drink. At
I
some
will say
point.
that they pump up and they do it in like the video when they're showing Tommy like in the like Junior Olympics or whatever, or when he's winning a state championship.
7-time Junior Olympics winner.
And they're talking about Tommy Conlon or Patty Conlon as this like amazing coach. but like he really, aside from waking him up in the morning and saying like you're gonna do it my way,
They don't show it.
they don't ever really show him coaching.
Right.
Like what does he do as such a great coach? Even in the montage, like they don't. I mean, he might have like a line or two, but like
Well, I mean, dude, if you're a young kid and you're like a good wrestler and your dad's like, hey, I'm going to beat your mom if you don't do fucking good in this tournament, like that's fucking
it's
motivation.
pretty inspirational.
Yeah.
Shit. All right, Scotchy.
Well, I was talking about Drunk Nick Nolte, but I'm gonna snag just the feel good ending and just having it end pretty much the way I wanted it to, and being satisfied and giving me pretty much what I wanted. I wanted Brendan to win.
You did.
I did, and because
It's anti-American.
well,
Just fucking around.
I know. Because I felt sorry for him with his family and the house, and it's just his story had a lot of, cause that scene where he's sitting in the bank and he's like, dude, you told us to refinance, like, and the guy's just like, well, these are your options.
He's like, I gave
You're
you
upside-
those options.
You're upside down. Yeah, I gave you the options. You made the choice. Like, bullshit. That guy probably told him this is what you guys should do. So it's just like that type of shit. That his whole backstory was a little more emotional for me than Tommy's because he did desert his unit. And yeah, he was a hero. That's amazing. That's awesome. But you can't desert. And the story of helping his friends, wife, that's great and all and everything like that. But he also did kind of fuck up. And so I just wanted Brendan to win. So.
I agree. I wanted Brendan to win too, but like, I don't know, man. They did a good job of like sort of leveraging both of them to make you really want both of them to win, right? Like,
yeah,
you weren't rooting against either one.
No.
I actually think it's hard for me to go back and remember, but I really think the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure who was going to win. Like,
if you don't know,
the point,
absolutely.
I wasn't sure who the movie was telling me I should want to,
Which
win.
makes it great.
Yeah, I know. This is why it's
For such a formulaic movie, that's the part that
Right.
makes it fucking stand out, right?
Yeah.
All right, my snag, and we've already discussed it ad nauseum, is the music, the ending scene, and I just want to compare it to one other scene because it's like sports movies, a lot of times like intense, like fun music at the end. One movie that did this as well, and I remember like just the first time I saw it, it was like, oh shit, that's a choice. Like, and I was young, so it was like,
Major
League.
League.
Absolutely.
I knew you were going to say that.
Absolutely. Major League. Cause like the little synthesizers, it's like some 80s, like late 80s, like synthesizer, like it's all pumped up. The whole music in the last game is just so fucking incredible. It's got you like fired up for the whole thing. And
Bob Uecker's going nuts.
oh, right before this scene happens, Wesley Snipes steals second, and also it's just like little guitar. It's like little like fun little guitar riff that comes in as Wesley Snipes is stealing second, Willie Mays Hayes, and then boom, like now he gets brushed back, he gets back up, he's pointing and everything. Bob Uecker's just talking about it, and then when he lays that bunt down, it goes just mellow.
So that's the key,
little
right?
Piano, the little
You take this monumental, like super fucking everyone's going crazy in the stands scene and take all of that out, and make it slow.
You know what's interesting though, on this exact point is notice they make it slow motion. The visual is slow motion in Major League.
Yeah,
because
it's like
the visual is often slow motion when
I
in a
agree.
sports movie when they want to do
They
that.
didn't do that here though.
They didn't do that.
They kept it in full speed.
So they keep it full speed, but it's I think the contrast where they like, in some ways
That's a perfect point, Nate. Absolutely, like that. It's slow motion. I was gonna say that it's slow motion in Major League because it's like you hear like every like each step, like you're hearing the and like like all the grunts and shit.
But it gets right to your point, right? I mean, I think you were the one earlier that said it, which is like it all of a sudden tells you immediately this isn't an MMA movie, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still a movie that's about you. Like we don't need to. In some ways, if you've gone slow mo and taken the crowd out, it would not remove you from it as much because all of a sudden it's about the action.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're like, no. Like what's happening now has nothing to do with the fighting.
Yeah.
And it's about the
And it's like,
relationship, and it's about
Yeah.
him telling him, like,
all we're going to do now is focus on this
Yep.
one thing that we've been building toward the whole movie that you have mistaken, on some level for this big climactic sports movie.
Yep. There you go. All right, body baggies.
No, I haven't snagged yet.
Oh,
I got a very important
my
snag.
bad. Shit. Oh,
Please,
man.
please.
It has
please
been
do
a week,
Yeah,
you know,
please
a little-
do it.
So my snag is very clear as I watch this movie. There's one actress that
I have a question. I cannot wait.
there's one actress that really just kills it the entire time. And that is Laura Chin, who plays the curly-haired high school student who is 26 years old when they filmed this movie. 3 years,
26?
only 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
Probably, I hate to say it, but like probably the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen ever. She's got the she's got the curly hair, she's got the green eyes. She fucking has not done really anything besides like Children's Hospital. She was on an episode of Grey's Anatomy. She's just fucking unbelievable. I can't get out of this podcast without saying that she's probably one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen.
I'm going to urge you to recant on the statement of she's the most beautiful woman you've ever seen.
I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you right now that like that's
It's
nonsense. I'm telling you right now that
look at this woman.
yeah,
Brad's holding up a picture.
I mean, she's very pretty. I'm not.
it's
I'm not
girl
saying
next-
She
it's
has
girl next
aggressive
door.
eyebrows. Those eyebrows.
I'm not even
look
saying
like
that.
they're-
I'm just
they're a
saying that
little
like
aggressive.
when your wife lets her hair go curly, she's much better looking.
My
than
wife
that
is
woman.
literally that woman with curly hair and green eyes. I fucking love it. Lauren Chin, you
Okay.
need more airtime.
Here's my question. Okay, you get to go out.
Zach,
you get to
what are we doing with this one?
Oh, I'm in.
you get to go spend an hour. You can choose how to spend it in one of two ways.
Are we getting into a new podcast right now?
You can either just run your fingers along this girl's hair,
Okay.
stare into her eyes,
Okay.
or you can run your fingers down Tom Hardy's traps and stare into the abyss between them. Which one?
I think the answer is somewhere in between.
In between his traps. In between his traps is where the answer is.
I mean, anyways, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention that this sort of ancillary character in this movie is the most gorgeous woman on the planet.
I would not be remiss about this at all.
I will say Zach kind of brought this up before we started the pod, and I was like, oh, he's going to be talking about Brendan's wife. And no, it did not go that direction at all.
No.
All right, Scotty, you body bagging?
Yeah, I'm gonna body bag the movie poster, the box on the DVD
Where the two brothers are
where the two
standing
brothers
there.
are
Yeah.
fucking obvious. And I'm a guy who hates fucking spoilers, and I remember watching this the first time, going, "Oh, where they're gonna have some fucking great moment where they're hugging each other." Yeah, and it literally gave away the
because
whole
the two
movie.
of them are walking.
They're-
With,
he's walking them off the and that's the poster
Out of the octagon or
out of the
some shit?
octagon.
literally,
You go,
the picture is
well,
the biggest spoiler in the movie.
Yeah, I go. Oh, I guess
jeez.
at some point these two are going to be hugging it out. So they're going to fight each other probably.
But did you know that the National was going to be playing? At
I
that
did
time?
not know that. So that's the one thing that
If
saved
you
it.
push the button at the top, it actually plays the National.
But yeah, it's the I hate that shit. I hate when movie trailers play all the best shit, and I hate when like posters give this shit away. Because that's literally the movie is the brothers coming together at the end, and it's
I guess it. I mean, it might also like. So I'm actually not picturing the one you're picturing. There's also another one.
I think there's alternate ones
where the two brothers are standing, kind of like, and they bleeding into each other. They're both standing next to each other, kind of looking like they're in the middle of.
It looks like they're tail the tape, like where it's like
yeah, like almost like more like a UFC match
Yeah.
poster. And I actually think that feeds into the impression that this is just a sort of like shallow fight movie. And I think you could have done a better job giving the feel of the movie, like, almost with like a, Pittsburgh industrial skyline, and a sort of like in a Tommy kind of sitting there on a table, sitting on the stoop.
I think they would have made
something.
their profit. Like they would have made way more money if it was just.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking.
so you're
If
talking
it,
about
if
this
it was
one.
Yeah.
if it was just Tom Hardy's traps, like just from the back.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hear me out.
Okay.
What if the poster is that actress looking like she's clearly like hugging Tom Hardy?
We're talking about
And so
Laura Chen, the
you
high
just
school
see
student.
her face. Tom Hardy's back on the poster. You see his traps all flexed, and she just looking over his
And
shoulder.
then just her green eyes and curly
She's
hair.
she's bringing her sunglasses down to like check him
unreal,
out,
dude.
like her green eyes and her curly hair, just doing it.
You probably make
and she's just
$7
like,
billion.
oh damn, look at those traps.
And so here's the Blu-ray. It's,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's
one.
pretty
You're
fucking
right.
weak.
That's stupid.
So that's the fucking Blu-ray. That's what's on the DVD. That's what
Yeah.
I saw in the store. And
that's
it's literally him pushing people away, escort. And obviously, it's not like he's coaching.
Yeah, no,
He's literally
it's
just
like,
fought.
It's literally just here's the last
Yeah.
scene of
He's
the
like,
movie.
stay away. I'm taking my brother out because he just lost.
It's kind of like the Blu-ray of the. It's kind of like the Blu-ray of the crying game where it's just a big penis.
Dude,
Spoiler alert. Jesus Christ. I was going to watch that tonight.
Only
God
been
damn
30
it.
years, dude. What are you
God
doing?
damn.
Definitely too soon.
So
penis crying.
just some pre-cum. So body bag. I've got a lot. So body bag.
You get multiple now.
My body bag is like all sorts of stuff that could have been avoided. Like we could have found a way to get Brendan into the tournament. I talked about this earlier. Like the fact that he gets into this tournament of the 16 best middleweights in the world is ridiculous.
Right.
We could have found a way to get him in. Like he could have won some sort of like feeder tournament. We could have had some more action.
Kind of like Happy Gilmore when he won the Invitational
Exactly.
to get on the PGA Tour.
There's a way we could have got him in that was better. There's a way that we could have got, like, I like the way that they got Tommy in. Like he has this viral video
Right.
that everybody knows about.
And he beat one of the guys that's
exactly.
going to be in it. Yeah.
Like that's a reason to put him in. Like fucking Brendan is like wrestling, like they said, wrestling dudes that watch too much UFC and wear tap out shirts and fucking bejeweled pants. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that the wife was like super anti and then got into it. Like there was nothing that made her get into it other than him like winning the first couple fights. Like,
Well, yeah, because the first one she doesn't watch. He texts her, and the next one like she's watching, and all of a sudden the next night she's like, "I'm fucking there."
but if I know anything about wives, like if they're fucking pissed about something, it's not going to take you
will
winning
dig
the
in.
first fight to them showing up all of a sudden.
Brendan would have come home and be like, "Babe, I want $5 million."
Yeah, she'd have been like,
"Fuck off, sleep on
fuck
the
you, I
couch."
still hate you.
Especially
Yeah,
because she hadn't the guy that she was specifically like, he's going to kill you. Like he was about to fight that guy.
That's the guy she shows up for, right?
yeah. That's the first fight
Exactly.
she's there for. Is
I
when
didn't like
the
that.
guy that's like gonna kill him, and she's like, "No, I'll fucking show up now. You beat a couple knuckleheads."
I didn't like that. I didn't like how Tommy is very. They really lean into Tommy is like addicted to pills, and then all of a sudden he hands over his pills and he has no fucking
withdrawals.
like- yeah, exactly. Like that part killed me. I was like, oh, you're gonna give all your pills away and you're just totally
What do
fine.
you think? What do you got? Some like
He's
Vicodin?
Vike. Yeah, it's Vike or.
I didn't
Oxy.
like how I didn't like the Tommy going to the dad and being like, I want you to train me, and then also still being a shithead to him. Like that was fucking weird to me. Like, and the fact that they don't really build that relationship. Like they don't really show their like trainer-trainee relationship between them before he goes to the thing. There's some cool montages. I like the montages, but it's like that was sort of weird to me. And then the fact that we're supposed to believe that professional athletes who are getting the fucking shit kicked out of them are going to fucking fight twice in the same night. Like there's just
4 times in 2 days.
And how old's Brendan? He's like 40 years old.
So I have.
I can't even play golf without fucking feeling like I've absolutely got the shit kicked out of me the next day. And this guy's literally fighting the best fighter in the world, beating him, and he's going to fight in an hour.
I have a. Let me jump on that for my body bag, which isn't.
That's all I got, by the way. Go ahead.
That's it. You love the movie
it?
though, huh?
But
Okay,
I
great.
really do like the movie.
No,
I just think that
just don't like any of the parts.
That actually makes so much sense because it is a movie, like I said, that takes a lot of just kind of like it kind of has some shortcuts to get to where it's like amazing, but it's like you can overlook those shortcuts
You can.
because it's
Yes,
like
especially
it's
relative
still pretty
to
fucking
like,
amazing.
There's a lot of. I mean, which sports movies are just really authentic, right? And there are some. That
I
are
mean,
better than
only
this
Mighty
one, but-
Ducks, right?
Only Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
And they fucking lost at the end.
Yeah, which is not
That's what makes it real. Spoiler alert.
Again,
I'm just fucking ruining all the movies.
yeah, every movie from 1993, Brad is gonna fuck up. All right, so
In 3 Ninjas, they win at the end.
Except there are only 2 ninjas left. So anyway, okay, so
That would be great. If it was just 3 ninjas, and the sequel's 2 ninjas, and they're down to 1 ninja.
Just tum-tums left.
No more ninjas jumping on the bed. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, so there's I could go, pick bigger things, but for some reason this is the one that struck me on this watch, so I'm just gonna say it. So he tells Tess going into the fight, he's like, they have like an open mic. It looks like it'll be a quiet night. And then he goes, knowing that he's going into a multi-fight,
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, but you're not thinking you're not going to get hit. Like, you don't, so I'm like, why like go down? Why like jump on that lie?
And the week before, he already used the lie. He already used the lie. He was like, I got to fight with some frat guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? He already used that lie.
Yeah. Why not just say, like, I actually don't know. Like, could be rough, could be, babe, I'll be fine. But like, it's always fine. But who knows when the trouble's going to jump up. Why not, go that direction? And then you can at least be like, yeah, there were some bikers there, and like somebody pissed on their wheels.
I also didn't like how easily he gave up the truth. Like, he was obviously planning on lying, and then he went and sat down on the couch. And when he got out the money, it was like the saddest little fucking stack of money.
But except though that then he gets to that point where he's all of a sudden got to be like, maybe I need I got to be able to do something with this money, right? Like I have to be able to, and he just didn't have a good way to launder it at his house. Like there's no way to be like,
you can't be like, I found this in the couch cushion.
I got a refund at Target on this dishwasher soap that I got, and it's $600.
That's where it's unbelievable, because she would just be like, I literally made that in 5 minutes selling pictures of my feet.
All right, what do you got, Brad?
All right, I've got kind of 2, but the first one is just simple. It's like MMA fighters just being abused by owners, by the promoters, by all the folks that are like promoting MMA fights. Like for the longest time, like some of these dudes, they are putting their fucking asses on the line, beating the shit out of each other, and they're getting like $400 for the fight.
I mean, that's the UFC, right?
And UFC, like, yeah, the undercard fighters for a long time it was like you're getting like $1,500 like for like showing up on the undercard, and all of a sudden,
and you're on pay-per-view where they're making $400 million.
Yeah, the main event guys are getting like 6 figures or
even
or
that's bullshit.
Yeah, so all that bullshit of these guys, I've seen them train. I've seen professional fighters train and like what they go through, and it's just like they are fucking putting their asses on the line, and then they got jobs. Like they actually.
Do you think Michael McDonald went home that night and was like, "This fucking guy passed my guard"?
No,
talking about you.
No. The dude was fucking. He was kicking ass in the UFC. He was just fine. But my second one though is
history teacher passed my guard. Telling his wife.
I've got. If I want to go 3 body bags, I got the whole teaching thing. Like, do they not have unions? I forgot. I think they're in Pennsylvania. It's like, the fuck is he getting kicked out of school because he's fighting on that? He's not doing anything to harm his
There was no precedent.
Yeah, it was like, what? Where's his union? Like, I guess they don't have unions in whatever state he's in. But my final one though, this movie is too long. And here's what I'm going to say about this is that when you watch it the second or third or fourth or fifth time or whatever, I am so happy to click through anything where those high school kids are doing their shit. I'm like, bleep, 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 just as fast as I can.
What about my girl?
Zach just leaned like so fast. He pulled.
I watched those parts in slow motion.
Zach just pulled a trap. Like he was leaning back in his chair. Brad said that, and he just almost lost it.
I'm like, I do not. All that is so unnecessary to the movie.
I mentioned this earlier. Like, I tried to watch this last night, and I just couldn't. I just wasn't in the right. I was just exhausted from work or whatever. And the first thing I noticed right when I pulled it up was 2 hours and whatever minutes.
2:19.
Yeah, 2:10.
I want every damn minute.
The first thing
That's crazy.
I just sat there. I saw. I go, no, fuck this. And I was like, I got so angry that it was so long.
And about halfway, you get to the tournament. So it's like really about the halfway point is when the tournament
You get
starts.
an hour of tournament, which is
But
Awesome.
just still, any of the school kid stuff and the principal stuff, I'm just like, as fast as I can like scan through that, like I'm out of there. Like it's just so. This
Brad,
movie could be a
Zach
nice.
is looking at Brad right now. Like Brad
I was
just
really
a
hoping
puppy.
for some more backstory on the high school students.
This movie could be like a solid hour and
what's she doing
45.
outside of school?
A tight hour 45, and this movie is golden. Like it's just like, oh, put it on, rewatch it as many times as you want. 210. That's a fucking effort where you're like, God damn. Like, and like I said, I was just
Hard
15
to-
seconds,
hard
15
to
seconds,
disagree.
15
Hard to
seconds. Let's go. I want the meat.
Can I oh, we got an
Give
sorry.
me
I was
the
just about to
meat.
jump right into the next category without even
I know, that's
paying
kind of
attention.
fucking rude.
Eat it.
Man, you would figure after like 2 weeks you would understand what's going on.
It's been a week.
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, find anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Tubi, Sling TV, Shudder, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? Sure, it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
I'll go first.
I wonder how many of those
What a fucking-
that are in like our
an
little bumper right there. How many of those are actually like out of business now?
Oh, that's a good point.
I
Oh,
bet
we
some
should
of them,
do
because
that
like
analysis.
right now we're getting this weird like consolidation phase where like just the big uns are like surviving and everybody else is just dying. Like
Yeah.
it's weird.
Well, I think I've only checked out maybe a couple of those myself. So
Dude, these motherfuckers, everybody's just like every other month they're like, hey, we're gonna be just raising this by like $2. Hey, oh, you know what? You won't even notice. $2.
$1. Who wouldn't want to pay $1?
Next week, oh yeah, you know we're up another $3.
So if we want to do some streaming recommendations for some amazing MMA fighting.
Oh, I was gonna hope I was gonna have your girl in it.
Oh no, that was like Grey's Anatomy episode 17, season 3.
If you like this, you will love the bus accident.
I mean, the bus accident. So my streaming recommendation is available on Apple, Prime Video, AMC Plus, Roku, Hoopla, AMC Plus,
it's a rental.
Tubi, Pluto TV, Freevee, AMC Plus, Showtime, and Prime Video. I think there may be some
Crazy
repeats
talk.
in
There's
there.
one of those are all rentals. Which one is it actually like if you have a subscription?
If you have a subscription, you can watch it on Prime Video, AMC Plus, Roku, Hoopla, Tubi with ads, Pluto TV with ads, Freevee with ads, and Showtime.
I think that you've covered everything that was in the song.
It's
I think you
literally,
answered the question.
you can literally watch it on anything you want. It's one of the greatest movies that I ever watched when I was 10 years old, probably. I remember exactly where I was when I first watched it at my grandma's house. It's Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Damn, good
Fucking
call.
A.
Chong Li
Yeah.
I'm mad that I didn't think of
against
That's
Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's one of the greatest movies of all
this.
time.
The slow motion
Sweat.
Oh,
Van Damme. He'll hit and just hold that pose. Just,
It's one of the best things
shaking.
ever. When he does the like where they
he's
do
blind.
they have to like grab his legs and pull them apart to make him do the splits, and then he can like do it afterwards.
Let's discuss Jean-Claude Van Damme just for a minute. How he always has to do the splits in every movie he's ever been in
Well,
his life. He finds a way.
It's the Tom Cruise running of Jean-Claude Van Damme's career.
That's a fact. That's
But-
a great
This is
example.
But if you haven't seen it, watch it. And the crazy thing about Bloodsport that is like you're led to believe that this is a true story
it's been so debunked at this point.
about Frank Dukes.
Yeah.
And it literally says like this is a true story about Frank Dukes, blah blah blah. And then if you do any sort of research, I don't recommend doing any research at all.
You could do that shit when the internet didn't exist.
If you do
Like,
any
fuck yeah, this is
research,
real.
you'll find out that it is not actually real. But I still believe that it's real, and you should watch it. It's fucking amazing. And Chong Li has the greatest tits on a man that I've ever seen in my life.
Well, hey, in the last week since we've been recording, I've sent you guys many Steven Seagal videos that are
The Seagal
pretty damn
videos are
interesting.
great, yeah.
That dude,
Steven
he's a fucking
Seagal,
psychopath.
Steven Seagal, like local police officer, is my favorite genre of anything.
Can I just say that Chong Li's pecs are the Tom Hardy traps of the 80s?
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
That's a perfect match.
Yep.
I mean,
it's
there's
literally like they just took Tom Hardy's traps and just spun them around.
you take John Travolta's late wife and Chong Li and fucking put them together
If I
in
ever
a death match of titties, it'd be a fucking what's her name? Kelly Preston, Chong Li, titty match.
Do you think
to the death?
plastic surgeons, they're like, they just have pictures on the wall. It's like Tom Hardy's traps and like Chong Li's pecs, and they're
like the
you just walk in, you're like, I want that, and I want
yeah.
just
that.
like supercuts, except
Yeah, and Dirk Diggler's
me the Chong Li.
dick, Dirk Diggler's cock, and you're like, I'll take all three. Thank you.
That's the extra value meal.
go into super pecs and see.
Yeah, I want the supersized doc.
I want to. Can we stream one that we've already done on Bevs?
You can always do
Absolutely.
that.
Hell or High Water, man. If we're
I'm
really,
missing the the
Brothers.
brothers. Oh, okay,
if we're
okay.
really like deep in the brother, and it's a little bit of like they have this sort of troubled past with the dad, right? I mean, the dad, you find out is was obviously kind of a scumbag and hard on them. The mom is sort of sad and a sad part of the story. So it's kind of has that like bleakness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the brothers clearly love each other. In that one, they're obviously much more interaction, but they also, have plenty of tension.
And I think the younger brother makes out with all the money, just like in this one.
Exactly.
I think it's fucking pretty clear parallel.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things. I mean, Hell or High Water's, top 10 movies for me. I mean, Hell or High Water and Warrior, maybe unsurprisingly, probably have snuck into my top 20, both of them, if I have to even think, maybe top 10.
I love Hell or High Water.
Yeah. So there's my.
So I love me a good happy ending, and I actually didn't realize it until we were doing the research, and we mentioned it earlier. Gavin O'Connor, one of his first movies he directed, I'm going with Miracle, and it's on Disney Plus. The story of the 1980 Olympic hockey team, and it's a really good movie. I've seen it. There's actually a documentary, I think it was on HBO, and I don't know if that's streaming anywhere or not. That is unbelievable because that's just like the absolute true story documentary. It's so good. But the movie that I think they did a really good job. Herb Brooks, the actor that played him. Gosh dang it! Why am I blanking?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Brain
Holy
fart.
fuck.
It's fucking Bevs we drink.
Can we just fire him right now?
Please do.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell's so good as Herb Brooks, and it's just a great movie. It makes you feel good. It's on Disney Plus.
Kurt Russell's literally one of my heroes. I'm pretty sure he came out and said that he got throat cancer from eating too much pussy.
No, that was Kurt.
I don't even think he has.
Oh, that was Kirk Douglas.
So
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I love the idea.
That's Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Kirk Douglas was his dad, who was Spartacus.
I love the idea though that Kurt Russell, who has been long married to Goldie Hawn,
Kirk Douglas got
came out without having
HPV
ever.
from eating lion pussy.
Yeah.
in Spartacus. That's right.
Kurt Russell's like, no one even thought he had cancer, but he's like, I got throat cancer. It's like
Yeah.
so much pussy. They're like, you have cancer? Not anymore, but I had it.
Yeah. I might have made it up. I just wanted everybody to know that I'm
It
down
gave
to
it
go
to
down.
me, and it also cured me. It also cured me.
How'd you get rid of it? Well, funny you ask.
Just kept going.
God.
Oh, that's what we've been missing for the last week. All right. My streaming recommendation is a classic from the early 2000s. Ron Howard, who might have made some shitty movies in his most recent years, but he made a great movie back in the early 2000s called Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe.
So good.
Still haven't seen it.
It's got just that same grittiness a little bit. Like it's dealing with, people who are under pressure and like just in a fucking shittiest of situations, but yet he fights his way out of it. And it's got the same tournament kind of feel to it, like where it's like he has to make his way up to the heavyweight title, and it's just so good. It's a really great
basically
movie.
the same, like we're going to lose our lean-to or whatever they were living in.
Well, his or my kids will starve if they don't.
Literally.
So he's got a lot to fight for, and it's a true story. So it's real, actually happened. James J. Braddock. And Thomas Newman is the score for that movie. And again, good music. That last scene, just great music in the background, and like going into that last round, you're just so fired up, and it's a great movie. Check it out, Cinderella Man. It's on Stars.
If your kid's 12 and really into boxing, Cinderella Man has way too much juxtaposition. He gave up like 40 minutes in, and he was like, I can't watch this.
It's a slow one,
Yeah.
but it's beautifully filmed, and the boxing action is pretty solid. I used to use it in my U.S. history class, we get the depression. We'd always
When you would get to the point in the year where you're like, I'm done teaching.
no, just depression. Like I actually like that was the one movie I would show every year. Like other than that, like that, I just because I like the movie so much, and I was like, you know, it shows that because he's in the roaring 20s, he's doing great, he's making a ton of money in his boxing matches, and all of a sudden that depression hits and he's fucked. And like you can talk about like, well, he had money in the stock market, he had a taxi cab company, and just all of a sudden people just were not doing much. And
You know what would
full
make
of
that
shit.
movie even better? Laura Chen.
Yeah.
Probably.
She was one of like the ring card girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I think we're moving. I think we're moving on to our next. It might be our last. I don't even remember what.
It's our last category.
Might be.
I'm willing to
Better
skip
be.
it.
I think we're about 3 hours in.
We just come out with a fucking 6-hour
Jet was
episode.
from Maverick, Mexico on that goose stick. Iceberg list Titanic, Leo's drawing that
Nude shit.
Jim fucks Nadia like we all thought he should. Ricky and Doughboy get the fuck out the hood. Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending. It's time for a reshelp and alternate endings.
I still remember the day you came up with those lyrics and recorded it.
How much
It was
does
amazing. Actually really good.
How much does it change Star Wars if Luke fucks his sister like in the second movie?
Well, Star Wars just becomes Game of Thrones, and we're no need for
For
that.
sure. House of Dragons, no doubt. Which is probably I think that's coming out soon.
House of Dragon, I believe
House of the
it's been
Dragons,
out.
the
Second
second
season?
season.
It's,
I haven't
oh
watched the
shit!
first
I forgot we were 6 months behind. I was like, oh wait. No spoilers.
All right, so we got alternate endings.
I do, and mine I think like could be. I don't know if this makes it a better movie. Maybe it does not at all. But I like the idea that Brendan loses to Koba. Like they make this guy out to be like this beast, and like you know what, Brendan, he's just not the best fighter. Maybe he loses, but then what that happens is that puts Koba in the final against Tommy.
Yeah.
And so I think Patty still gets drunk. Like Tommy and Patty had their little thing, and Patty gets drunk and is just fucked up. And maybe he finds Tommy at some point, and just or he finds Brendan at some point. And he's just like, "Oh man, you fucking cost your family," and like is like just going off and just like
To Brendan?
Oh yeah, just fucking going off on Brendan. And Tommy's like there, and that kind of brings Tommy and Brendan together. And so
And they beat the fuck out of their dad.
no, I mean they're maybe they do, maybe they don't. But what it does is it brings Brendan in as like.
He's the
I got
His
your corner.
corner guy,
I got
yeah.
your corner, man. Like I'm gonna support you, like in this fight. And it's a fucking gritty ass, just 5-round. They're brawling. They're just going at it,
Rocky IV shit.
and it's just like aggressive. And he knows that Tommy's going to jail after this. Tommy wins the $5 million. And is like, fucking, I got your house. Like I'm taking care of that. So you get the happy ending of like, Brendan gets supported. Brendan had his great moments. Like it's he lost to the craziest Russian dude ever.
Right.
And then Tommy ends up fucking beating that dude, knocking him out. And like they have like that support at the end. And he's like, fucking, I got you, man. Like I got your house. And like,
I like that movie. I like that better.
I don't know. I don't know if it's better, but I'm just saying like,
I like it.
I think it's like an interesting take, like where it's not
It's
the
more
perfect
realistic.
ending.
It's more realistic because I don't know, man. Especially fighting that many times, that many days. Like I don't see him beating Koba, but I see Tommy.
Well,
just
Koba was like the Fedor like equivalent,
right.
Just like fucking
He was Fedor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be kind of like the Fedor, and Fedor did come to the States, ended up losing. Like he actually lost in the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament. That did he lost the first round? People were like, oh fuck. And then just as much as what is it? Brendan Callen, is that his name? No wait,
Brian
Brian
Callen.
Callen is just basically doing Joe Rogan the
Yeah.
entire time,
Right.
which is like funny because
But-
like they're buddies.
Yeah.
But Brian Callen, who I'm not a huge fan of, is actually really great in this. Like he's a good
Oh yeah, no, he does
like UFC announcer.
He does
totally.
it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the knowledge. There's like a couple times when like I will say this: Joe Rogan is a UFC announcer. The fact that he's trained jiu-jitsu and he knows a lot of shit, like he'll be like, oh, all he needs to do, he needs to roll over right here, da, 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 da. And like that's what the instincts of Rogan have. And Callen, there's a few times where he's like, oh, he's got that tight. He's got that tight. He's not like. Joe Rogan will always like talk through like what needs to happen or what he
But
needs to do to escape.
Brian Callen's not actually writing the lines there, right? So
Oh no. I'm just saying like it's funny that he's doing a Rogan impression.
he's
but-
not a real announcer in the movie. I don't know. That didn't seem clear.
motherfucker.
So I'll let go of my OnlyFans storyline, but what I think would be a great twist is he comes home, he's all beat up, he's sitting on the bathtub, bleeding, with $200 in his pocket, And his wife comes in and is like, blah, 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 giving him a bunch of shit. And he like finally like lays it on her that like, hey, I've been lying to you and I've been doing this shit. And then she has the moment where she's like, I've been lying to you too.
I've been stripping.
I've been working at the Pink Pony Club.
That's where I mean, that dress that you don't like, well, it's even shorter.
Exactly. And then he has the moment where he like doesn't do what his dad did and doesn't beat her up. And they have like this like intimate moment, and he's like, we're going to go with one of these things is going to be profitable. Either I'm going to fight or you're going to be a stripper. And she's like, okay.
And then it flashes forward 6 months, and he's taking care of the kids.
And he's fixing a piano while she comes in wearing a G-string.
Love this.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to be realistic.
She got racks. She's just like
yeah, and she's got
a bunch
tons of fucking money.
glittery ones on the table.
Scotty, what do you
I got nothing on this. I liked your endings.
I'll just say on the glittery money, like this always makes me laugh because like when our kids used to lose teeth, we would it was the whole tooth fairy thing. Well, my wife thought it would be like, oh, let's spray the money with glitter. Like we had the glitter spray paint or whatever it was, and so
Spray the money with glitter?
so it was fairy dust.
Fairy dust, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Came from the
all
fucking
right.
tooth fairy.
Stripper dust. All right. Okay.
So I would fucking anytime their kid lost a tooth, I'd be like, fuck. That means I had to go once they go to bed. I'd have to go outside, put a bunch of fucking money into the paper bag and spray that glitter shit and spray it around and like mix it around, and I had glitter all over my hands and shit. I just hated doing that, but it was like.
And if you ran out, you had to run to Antonio's and see if
That's what I said. Like I was like, why wasn't I just going to the strip club and then just like walking home with some blinds and being like,
My
I
favorite-
got this. I got the tooth fairy money.
My favorite
we go.
tooth fairy stories are always the, oh, I lost my tooth. Oh, cool. Put it under your pillow. And then mom and dad go to sleep and completely forget that they have to fucking put money under and they wake up, the tooth fairy didn't go. Oh, you lost it really late at night. Like tooth fairy probably is going to come tomorrow.
I never got that.
Oh, that's my
I'm just a
life.
better parent than you.
Can I just tell a story that has all,
You're like, you
Absolutely.
motherfucker.
so can I tell a story that
I will
has,
say reaching under the pillow sometimes I was like, and all of a sudden the kid like kind of like is waking up. Fuck.
and you go straight to the belly, just roll under the bed?
Oh, yeah. You hit the deck like a motherfucker.
Throw glitter at him and fucking roll out of the way.
So let me give my alternate ending. So everything happens up to the point where the song's played, like the shoulders busted, like we're in the national.
And the ref, like a real ref, stops the fight.
Stop so many fights right now.
So Brandon.
Oh Jesus! When Tommy had his last the bulldog fight where he
Dude, where he
punches
kills
him
him
like 17 times. Oh my lord!
So Brendan like starts to punch Tommy, right? Like Tommy won't go. He starts to punch him, throws the punch. Now to this point, Tommy really hasn't taken that much of abuse except the shoulder, right? So he's pretty clean. But all of a sudden, Brendan opens up a cut and blood drips down into his mouth.
Oh shit.
And Tommy goes full vampire on Brendan.
Oh.
Just lunges at him, rips out his carotid with his teeth. Blood everywhere, right? And he just
The Marines all step up and go, "Oorah!"
yeah, they go oorah, and then to black. And that's it. And then flashes on the screen. Warrior Till Dawn.
Big shout.
I mean,
out to
that
my
would
boy
explain
Keith
why
Monroe.
he was able to like break open the tank, whatever. Like he ripped off the door, and
'Cause he's
everybody's like,
a
"Oh my
vampire.
god, he was fucking hella strong. He was a vampire."
Warrior
obviously.
Till Dawn.
Warrior Till Dawn. Gotta close there.
That makes sense.
Hey, what are we doing next week?
Oh, we you know what?
I thought aren't we drafting the most memorable traps?
Oh, I think we should do most memorable traps.
Oh, definitely expect that a week from today. If you're listening, whatever day you are listening to this right now, a week from whatever that day is, you will definitely
expect
hear
most
the
memorable
draft,
traps.
most memorable traps.
You-
It's gonna be a deep. I think we're going 17 rounds.
Yeah.
You know what I like the idea of? Just so it would be so fun to do that one, and then to figure out who was going to draft the body part and who's going to draft the way people were captured. Because it would be like such a fun like thing. Like you got caught in a bear trap.
Almost memorable
Like,
traps.
traps from Saw movies.
It's like, how do we judge this? Because I've got Tom Hardy's trap, but also I've got the the
Like Jigsaw from Saw.
Some shit from Home Alone.
yeah.
Oh, that's clever. I like that. How are we so clever this deep into the night?
How are we at 3 hours?
We're at least 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's not 4 hours.
We got to get after being gone a week. We got to give our listeners what they want, which is a whole lot of us
when you
mumbling.
take a week off and people are just like craving that BVK, we're just like, I guess we should go big.
You got to go big,
And so we'll keep you in the dark as far as what's coming up for BVK. Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't even know.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to us ramble for multiple hours. We appreciate you.
I do want to say real quick though is that the Olympics are coming up in Paris, and the breakdancing is a new event in the Olympics.
I saw this.
I'm just gonna say, like, I feel like Australia is not a great country for breakdancing. So
we should hear from Steve about this.
I just think Stevie, whoever y'all are sending to breakdance, I hope they're solid, especially in the women's division.
They're gonna be like, oh no.
I'm just saying you should check out whoever's because Brendan, he's also Australian, and I don't know how breakdancing goes down there, but you should probably check that out. Australia's breakdancers.
In all seriousness,
Go on Twitter, or go on YouTube.
Ray gun.
Check it out.
we're all alive and well, and we love you and miss you, and we love each other, and we just keep
We'll be back
keep an
at some
eye on it
point.
because
Don't unsubscribe. That would be
That's right.
stupid.
No,
We've only been gone a week.
Because at some point you just they're gonna just pop up, and you're gonna be so delighted you don't know what's gonna happen. but
We'll
they're
see you in a
gonna come.
week, 6 months. Who knows? Bye-bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies. Just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. Nate Scott's I can brag your favorite podcast. Let's start.